catching a reflection in the mirror of something standing in the corner of my room, watching me, observing me. Is it my imagination or insanity? A strange hum, a flash of light. I'm overcome, nothing but fright. Otherworldly beings taking me in the night. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head? Looking at my hand, there's something there. Inside of me, I'm feeling oh so scared. Confusion and nasty fear. It wasn't just a nightmare. So loud, so bright, hypnotizing me figures lost in time. I'm tortured, surrounding me tonight. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head? Where are they taking me? I'm swelling in me. Where are they taking me? Anxiety rising. Was it just in my head? Paralyzing panic. Was it just in my head? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head?
When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. Where the darkness surrounds me, shape-shifting in the night, stalking you. Does my face seem familiar? My back tell you more. Will I change you or will it end you? And the power that I have can give you eternal life. Death doesn't know me. I've become eternal. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me, where the mist, she follows me. I walk alone in the night, watching you following you, hating on you through the night. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me. Oh, your life, I was still. I become the living dead. I own the darkness and no heartbeats inside of me. I become eternal. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me.
All right, guys, welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in this real reality. You know what it is. And tonight, I was going to do a retelling tonight, but I actually have Anna that was like, hey, you're supposed to do my stories. And I got to apologize. There are multiple people who are trying to get in with me. Bryce Edwards, Matt Stoyanov. I can't, dude, I'm telling you, there's too many people to name. I'm going to be doing several collaborations in September. I'm going to be doing a lot of collaborating. I got a lot of people to talk to. Just a bunch of people. Some of the people you might not have heard of. You might be surprised. They got really good work. I found them through mutual friends. And so, yeah, it'll probably be about at least 10 interviews going on next month. I said 10 and there was like 10 people in it. So what we're doing is we have about 100 people right now, but we have 2 different streams going. Right, Anthony?
Yeah.
One is for your cell phone and the other one is for computer. And the logic, I guess, that YouTube says is that you get more people, more views. And I think that's true. We've actually gotten more people. It's been good. So Sean Hertel, thank you for that. Summerween rules. It has been great, man. Next week is vampires, dude. Hopefully, how close are we to getting the book out? That's something that's been weighing heavy on my mind.
Yeah, it's been just taking longer than expected.
Thank you for that, BMR. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, guys. Go check out his show. We just got to get it done, man. We're trying to push it out and get it done. We had to totally rewrite the thing.
Mm-hmm. Just keep finding stuff that needs to be reconnoitered.
Yeah. It's been slow going.
Whether it's wording, tone, punctuation, information.
Yeah, because we don't. I can't afford $600 for an editor right now, so we got to pay that for the formatting. So, anyways, let's bring on our guest. What's up,
Hi.
Mrs. Choate? Miss Choate.
Yes. Wow, you
Miss
even pronounced it right.
Kensington. Like
Yeah.
Austin
Oh,
Powers.
Show
Mrs.
up.
Kensington.
Hey, Mrs. Kensington. Hey.
I get
No,
Shoate.
Mrs. Kensington is
Oh,
retired.
she's
This is
retired.
her daughter, Miss Kensington. All
Yeah,
right.
I get Shoate, so I'm always impressed when people can pronounce it.
I've always said your name correct, haven't
Yeah, it's an English name, and when you go to the East Coast, everyone knows how to pronounce it because there's a fairly prominent university with that name out there, and I guess, just
I? There's a
more
Choate
English
University.
people. Yeah, I think so. Choate Rosemary Hall, Choate University, something like that. I actually bought a hoodie from them just so I could have a hoodie
Oh
with
wow,
the name on
yeah,
it.
because it's
Yeah.
We got to do it the Southern way and just call you Miss Anna.
because why not?
Yeah,
Hey, Miss
there you go.
Anna.
Miss Anna. Hey, Miss Anna. How are you?
So I almost committed a crime today. I walked out of the grocery store or it was Sam's. I guess it's a grocery store, right? And I walked out of there. I like Costco better, but it's always so packed. So if I do, I have to make a special trip to Liberty Hill. I like that one better because it's newer and a lot as many people know about it.
Yeah.
So we go out there to that one. I'm sure they'll eventually find it. They'll sniff it out and be like, let's go out there and ruin that one, and zombie around in front of me.
The clock is ticking.
Yeah. But at Sam's today, we walked out and I did not realize that my wife had gotten an extra one of these things that we were buying. And I was like, we don't need that. We have two. And I clicked it. I said, I think you put three and we only got two. And she was busy, moving the stuff. And then we walked out and I got outside and I'm like, I didn't know we got three of these. So I went back inside to pay for it. And they were closing. And the guy was like, no, we're good. And I had to argue with the guy to go back in and pay. I was like, I got to pay for this, and not just being a goody two shoes, but like there are people who go out and get in trouble later on. They'll be like doing their auditing or whatever. And they'll be like, well, this guy just walked out with, he's a criminal.
And then they probably have to pay for it. Maybe.
Yeah. So I just said, I got to go back in there. What was interesting though, was that when we were talking about on the random files and what we're going to continue tomorrow night on the real random files on Rumble.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it last night on Random Files with you and Richard and Anthony here. And it was interesting because they have these big scanner things, these big rectangular things that you walk through at Sam's. And they don't have them at Costco, they have them at Sam's, but you walk through it and the lady can just look at her little deal and she's like, you're good, go ahead. And we had several. I'm like, we didn't have just 2 or 3 things. We had like 30 things in there.
Oh, wow.
Looked
That's
at it,
interesting.
and I'm like, really? But then they didn't catch that I had only paid for 2 of something that we had 3 for, so I had to come back in.
Yeah. It reminds me of what I was talking about on the show last night. At least I think I mentioned it, but with all the AI stuff where now in some stores, in the big stores, probably stores like that, they have the scanning technology now where the AI is monitoring like your exact path through the store. It has like this little red line showing everywhere you walk and what products you're interested in and what you hesitate on. And it's logging all of it. So it's probably all going back to these friggin' data centers. And
well, see, I got a secret weapon. I just throw them off. I go in there and I buy women's undergarments, pantyhose and the brassieres and stuff. It's not for me. I'm not into that.
Sure.
I take it and I will take those to throw off the scanners so they don't know what I'm buying. Like these fancy little beads that people might know about. I just use those and some other type of things that I do. And then I go down to the Iron Bear. I was gonna say bull again. The Iron Bear. I dance around in my chaps,
like
people come in and I'm like, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh man.
I don't know if you know that because like my enemies were like using that. They say he hangs out at the Iron Bear. Never even been inside that place. Like that was their whole shtick. They kept trying to.
I assume this is like a Texas gay bar or something called the Iron Bear.
Well, it's not a Texas gay bar. It's an Austin, Texas gay bar.
Okay. Well, it's Austin. It's on
6th Street, right? Is it West 6th Street? Or is it on the corner of some street and 6th Street? Anyway,
Somewhere downtown.
It's on 6th. I think it's on 6th Street. I think it's West 6th Street. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I've only been to a gay bar once for a kind of a mutual friend and a big group of us girls that all went to celebrate her birthday, and she obviously was of that inclination, and it was an interesting experience. Those are interesting places to go.
They don't like it when you go in there, huh? They probably like,
Ew.
Yeah,
right?
I had some woman that came up and she was like trying to make out with my neck, so that was a little weird.
Oh, it
Like,
was
whoa.
a lesbian bar.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it was. This was a long time ago. This was like,
Well, it's kind of confusing because they have those, and then they have the gay men's bars, and then they have one that used to be across from the parking garage where we used to have to work, and they were both. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
I can't
And
remember. If
I
this was
saw
both
one of
of
my
them.
old bosses coming out of there one time.
Really? Did you
Yeah.
say anything to him later on? Like, hey,
No, I
how's
was
the
like,
club?
and I saw one of my clients too going in there, and he's married, he has kids. Because I was at the parking
Oh,
garage, and he came up the ramp, and he was with
oh,
some
that's
guy. They were
unfortunate.
walking, and I was like, I just pretended like I didn't see him. And
Literally everything you're talking about is reminding me of Herb Baumeister now from Fox
yeah,
Hollow,
because
'cause
that's what we're
that's what
talking about tonight, right? We're going to get into that.
but we can get into that for sure. Yeah, I have a bunch of personal stories too we can get into, and we can probably recap when that alien showed up at my front door. That was an interesting one. I won't go as in depth because people can go back and listen to the original. But yeah, just what you're talking about. I was kind of refreshing my memory on the Fox Hollow Farm case because we investigated it so long ago. And I remembered most of the details, but there was a few things that jogged my memory. And that's what he was doing. He was going to those clubs and he was married with 3 kids, you know.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine who, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a fighter. He's popular. I'm like you. I've met a lot of prominent people in my life. I don't know how. I just end up running into these people. But he was a
Yeah,
fighter
it's
for
weird, isn't it?
years and years, and he was a pro wrestler. And he frequented those bars, and there were always rumors. People were like, "Oh yeah, that's."
Yeah.
And I just couldn't see it. I just couldn't see it. But
I don't know. Andrew
who
Tate,
knows?
he's a
Why
fighter.
would you go?
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure he'd
that's
probably go.
another thing. But then I find out from some of my friends there's a whole culture there, and some of the guys I used to train with, they were telling me about this one guy that I was oblivious to. I guess I didn't know. I had no
Yeah.
clue. But
Yeah.
he always wanted to wrestle. And then I'm like, you like to wrestle a lot.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a giveaway.
Come on, guys. Let's work on our grappling. All this stand-up shit where we're hitting each other. That's let's do let's practice our ground game.
I want to wrestle. I want to wrestle you.
Wrestle. I want to wrestle your asshole. Come on.
Today we're going to drill a move called the oil check.
What's it called?
The oil check.
The oil check.
Mhm.
We better stop.
It's
This is not the show for this.
It's a common move in wrestling.
Very common.
Very effective. It's psychological warfare more than anything else.
It's
It sounds like it.
well, when I was in middle school, we had a coach, and I was glad because when I first went there to that school, I had come from this other school, and I went to 2 years of private school, and it was the Abeka school. And so I went to this smaller public school that had a pretty strict curriculum. My parents wanted me to keep my nose to the grindstone type thing, so okay. And then after 2 years of that, then I went into middle school. And I was like, immediately, my dad was like, you need to play sports. He wanted me to play sports. And so I had to do like 2 weeks of PE, which is not athletics. It's PE. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I kept telling this coach, I was like, dude, I'm supposed to be in athletics, man. I'm not. Why am I here? I'm supposed to be playing ball.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get you there. We're going to get you in. And he would just stand there playing with his whistle. And then after an hour of doing nothing, like throwing a ball at each other or throwing it through the hoop or whatever weird stupid crap, he would just stand there and watch us shower. He would make us shower and he would stand there and watch us. And I was like, why do you watch us? Oh, I got to make sure you're actually taking a shower. There's no soap in there. We're just going in there and getting wet. Like, it was just weird, dude. And so, yeah, his brother was really cool. He was a journalist, and just thought, man, this guy, dude. Years later, there were stories. I'm like, what a shock. I mean,
Yeah. Shocker.
I would not want to be a PE coach. Who wants to do that? Like, I
No.
just don't. I want to work with young boys and BPE and all this. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Trent.
Trent definitely would want to do that.
Yeah. Well,
He
Trent
seems
does
like
do
it.
that apparently.
He's like, I want to be around little children.
Yeah. I like prepubescent boys.
I want to be with the little kids, playing the leaves with the little kids. I'm good. Yeah, whatever. Another thing I always kind of freaked me was like people that wanted to take like photographers. I've heard that that's another profession that they get in. And I'm not talking about everybody who's a athletic PE or a PE coach or anything like that. I'm not speaking out against people who are photographers. I'm not saying that, but that is something that I've heard that they would do that, because I don't have the patience for photography, but but one of my friends, she was saying that her sister ran into that.
Yeah. I think that this is a disgusting story, so I'm not even going to go into the details, but recently there was that couple that got, I think they're being legally prosecuted currently, I believe. But I don't even want to say it. They were putting stuff on cupcakes and giving it to little kids. And I'm sure some people heard about this. Just think of the most disgusting possible bodily fluid you could put on a cupcake.
Oh, no, let's not get into that.
Yeah, but
we talk about that on Random Files tomorrow night.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is it turned out he was one of those photographers, and that's what reminded me of it, is he was doing photography sessions like that. So sometimes they're
and the sad thing is, it makes you leery of all these different people and their professions, because you don't know.
Yeah,
like you don't know, man. That's why sometimes I'll have people that I know from online. I'm not, you don't know how that person is in their private life. They could be putting on an act, and pretending like, oh, I'm a good person. I'm doing this. I'm doing that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's the whole that does protest it too much. Like someone that's like, I'm so holy. I'm all, what are you hiding, dude? I mean, people that do that, they just put on an act. And, I had a couple people at my conference that were just smoking reefer like crazy. And then they're over there telling me, don't tell nobody I did that. Like, if it comes up, I'm going to tell them you did it. If it doesn't, I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to lie for you, dude. That's your image. And turns out, a couple of them were fake as hell, and that they were frauds. Everything about them was fake. But when somebody does that and then they get on their show and they're like, I'm so holy. And you're like, dude, we're talking about cryptids and ghosts, dude. Okay. You can save it. I mean, it's just, if you really believe, that's one thing, and I believe in Christ, and I believe in telling people, and I'll take whatever the consequences are for that. And nowadays there are consequences for that. You don't get as much money. You don't get as much exposure. You get blacklisted. You get shadow banned and whatever. We've been through it. But you make a stand one way or the other, because if you're ashamed of Christ, you know what? He's not going to recognize you before his Father.
Yeah.
And there's people that use God, and it is horrible to do that. That is a grievous sin.
It is, and it turns people away. Those are the self-righteous people that act holier than thou and judge everybody else. Dude. Yeah, they can't see the plank in their own eye, and they go around and they give Christianity a bad name, and it turns people away from it. People that don't actually know the real teachings of Christ, and they just sort of have this outward view, the glossed over view of it, and they see, and also these like creepy televangelists, the Kenneth Copelands of the world. That doesn't give it a good name either. If I have ever seen a man that looks more demonically possessed, he's on the list. He's on my list.
Oh, he's big. I could tell you this. You made a post on Facebook, and we'll get started right after this. We're just getting some people in here, but you made a post. Don't worry about those people. You have some of the most ignorant people.
I know. They just like flock. Yeah. Are you talking about that chick that Yeah, I know. And the screenshots I sent you and Nelly with that one lady saying the only thing that would kill her hate is death. I was like, okay, crazy lady.
Yeah, these people are, and so I think we should take that post and read some of those nasty comments on the show tomorrow night and
Yeah,
show
and she
people
was
how ignorant these people are.
yeah, and she was openly saying she wanted the downfall of Christianity and all white people and all. I mean, just the most hateful person you can imagine. I was like, where did this weirdo come from? But yeah, they for some reason seem to be
And
attracted
I have
to my
this
page.
opinion that racism is racist, regardless.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
always one-sided. It shouldn't be that way. There's a person I was arguing with today on a listener's page, and I didn't want to, but they were just completely off base, being
Mhm.
completely off base and racist. And I was like, dude, and it was the Carmelo thing. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it, but I will say this: they were acting like he deserved to be stabbed.
Yeah,
And
there's
I
a
was
lot of people that
there's
act
people
that way and
that
feel
act
that
that
way.
way,
It's
man.
sick.
And I just can't get into that. So, but tonight, what do we have, Anna? You have your personal encounters here. Do you want to get into the
Yeah.
Baumeister thing? We've covered it before, but
Yeah,
there's a
I
lot of
won't go
stuff.
as
Was there anything new?
yeah, well, there's lots of news stories I can tell that I've never told before.
I'm talking about the Baumeister thing.
Oh, the Baumeister thing. Yeah, actually. I just found this out today. I think this happened about a year ago, but they discovered a new victim. So on the property, just for a little background, the property itself, it's actually a gorgeous property if it weren't, a den of horrors. It's kind of
Isn't
a
it like
dream
an
home in a way.
11,000 square foot house or something?
It's 11,000 square feet. It's on 18 rolling acres of horse pasture land. It's got horse stables. It has a carriage house. It's sort of a
Wow.
French country, French Tudor style. It's beautiful. People can look up photos. It's actually a beautiful, beautiful property, but it is definitely haunted. And obviously these horrific things occurred there. So for a little background on him, he with this new victim that was just identified, they're constantly finding bones on the property. We found a human tooth while we were there. And it's a very common occurrence for more remains to be found in the forested area behind the mansion. And so they'll find these remains, but they haven't been able to identify all of his victims. And so I think with this new gentleman, and I apologize, I forget what his name was. I just heard it earlier. I can pull it up. But this young man that they discovered, I think he makes official identified victim number 11. So those are all confirmed, but they know that they've discovered about 10,000
Bone
human
fragments.
bone fragments and remains, and they know that there's at least like 25 victims, but so many of them haven't been identified. And an interesting thing too is they said this guy was found on a different part of the property than all the other bodies. So now they're going to expand their investigation, because before he would strangle them in the pool using this pool hose, which is still there. And then the pool is on like the sort of the basement level, but it's a garden or a ground level basement. And then he would drag them out the sliding doors out into the forest, and he would just leave the bodies out in the forest. And that's actually how he initially, before he was officially discovered, one of his kids was out there playing in the forest, and they discovered a full human skeleton, and they put the skull on a stick, and he came walking back with this skull on a stick. And Herb, when his wife, of course, was horrified because the children showed it to her, and she confronted him on it. And he said, oh, because his father had been a physician. And he said, this is just one of my father's anatomy skeletons. And I was cleaning out the garage and I wanted to get rid of it. So I buried it out here. But the wife was in denial about quite a bit with him. They had only consummated their relationship 6 times in 25 years,
I
and
thought it
he
was
was
3.
originally I thought that, but they have 3 children, so obviously it happened at least 3 times.
Oh,
And when
okay,
I'm
the 3 children.
yeah, but I think she said it was just 6 times total that they ever did it, but it resulted in 3
And I'll
kids.
be honest, it's probably not a polite thing to say, but it's my show. I'm going to say it. She's hideous. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
She
there was
is.
probably some insecurity
You
issues
can
there,
look at her and see. I don't know about that. I just know that she's not good looking. So I
Yeah.
mean, this dude obviously he's not attracted to women, so he just married this.
Yeah, his friends back in the day, they said, "Well, what was his dating life like?" And they were like, "What dating life? He didn't date at
Yeah,
all. He
yeah,
had
'cause he was.
0 interest." And he had bizarre behaviors all throughout his life. He had a weird fascination where he would start talking about, and guys, sorry, I know this is gross, but he'd talk about like urinating on stuff a lot, and he wanted to know what it would be like to drink urine, and the guy was cuckoo. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And at his one of his places of work, later on, he created they developed those Save-A-Lot stores, and that's how they made a ton of
Made
money.
a
But
bunch of money.
prior to that, and they I think they're still in existence, I believe. This was out in Carmel, Indiana. Carmel. I'm never sure how to say it. But he had
I
a
thought it was
different job.
caramel.
Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure. Like I said, this was so long ago. It's things are a little fuzzy, even though I've been there and stood there and done all this stuff. And we were there for 4 days, by the way, so we really got a feel for the property, and we got to interview his former lover. I'll get into that. That was very
Lurch.
weird. Yeah, Lurch.
Yeah.
Lurch. Yeah, Mark, if you ever watch this interview, I'm probably not going to say very flattering stuff about you, so I apologize in advance.
Because you're a freak, Mark. How about that?
Yeah, well, we appreciated all the time that he gave us, but he is definitely probably one of the top weirdest human beings I've ever met in my life. So anyway, with the Save-A-Lot stores, they made a lot of money. Prior to that, though, he had a regular job. I forget what it was, some administrative thing or something. And they said that he urinated on his boss's desk. And then they also had a letter to or from the governor. I'm not sure what the deal was with that. I just know there was a letter regarding the governor, and he peed on that too. And somehow the guy kept his job because they said he was really good at his job, but everybody just knew he was kind of a weirdo. So he was into this really sick stuff. He had zero interest in women. And so I think it's kind of like Gacy's wife, where, it's like, how the heck did you not?
How do you not know? But in fact, Gacy's wife caught him. She caught him like multiple times.
Yeah, I think there's a level of denial with some of these women, and they said that that in I don't even know if they were arguments, but in like marital discussions, he always had his way. He told her what to do. If she said, "I want to do this," he was like, "No, we're not doing that. We're doing this." And they said that she always just deferred to him. So I think she probably had one of those very passive personalities. But again, how do you not know that your husband is flamingly homosexual and going to all these gay bars? And
I think these men that kill people, I think there are people that know.
Yeah,
they have a feeling, or there's something there. I mean,
yeah,
you're going to be like, well, I'm going to leave. I interviewed a woman one time for the show, and she thought her dad was doing something. And I said, why do you think that? And she started telling me like he was leaving, and all these weird times he'd be gone and then he'd come back with weird stuff, like women's necklaces and women's things. And, and then she found IDs. And then we did a story one time where there was a woman that had a bunch. We retold somebody's encounter. I can't remember. She found IDs. Oh, it was the woman she was living with another woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she found a box of like a bunch of different IDs.
Yes. Yeah. She was a black. When she would get mad, her eyes would be black.
Yeah.
Black-eyed woman. Weird stuff, and I think this stuff gets into that. I think it bleeds into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's such a weird case too. And here's the other thing is, so they have the 11, I believe it's 11 confirmed identified victims. They know that he probably killed at least 25 people. I think they have 25 unique like DNA samples from human remains, but they just haven't been able to identify the rest.
You think he was the interstate killer?
That's what I was going to get to. Yeah. So authorities do think that prior to him moving to Fox Hollow, because his MO was strangulation, obviously, and the I-70 strangler, as whoever it was known, was never caught. And they think that was actually him, and he was traveling along that corridor at the time. And so his victim count could be, I don't even know how many the I-70 strangler had. It's in the double digits too. So this guy could be one of the most prolific serial killers in American history.
Sure he was.
Yeah.
Typical selfish, too. He offs himself in Toronto, right?
Yeah, he went up to Canada. And the really, really creepy, weird part too is that, so he offs himself once the investigation started. He didn't want to face the consequences. But when they found his body, he was surrounded in this ritualistic way by all of these dead blackbirds. And what's really interesting about that too is that a friend of his said that way back in the day, once again, he was being a freaking weirdo. and he was walking along with his friend when they were younger, and they came across a dead blackbird, like a crow, and Herb like was really fascinated and picked it up and just shoved it in his pocket and kept walking. And so the fact he was found with these ritualistic dead blackbirds in a perfect circle around him, it's like, okay, did he do that? Did somebody else do that? Was he involved in? And there were rumors in the community, which, do with that what you will, but that he was involved in some sort of satanic or occult cult activity of some sort. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. And I think his former lover, Mark, I think he mentioned something about that to us as well. And regarding Mark, there's so many weird things with this guy. So first of all, he's like, I think he's like 6'8", 6'9". He's like a giant and very skinny. So he's just like towering over you. And he just has an odd affect, just a strange guy. They were in a quasi relationship for a while, and he likes to paint himself as the one that got away, and he became an informant. The FBI, we got to see some of the FBI files, and their code name for him was Freak Show. So that should give you an indication of kind of what this guy's personality was like. He was very nice to us, very courteous. He gave us a lot of his time, which I definitely appreciate. But as we toured around this palatial property, he's going room to room, and he's talking about how like different bodies looked when they were there, and he's talking about all this really graphic stuff that he and Herb did together in the pool. I'll let your imagination wander with that one. And I mean graphic, like stuff that when you just meet a group of people, you wouldn't be telling them. And it's kind of funny because the rest of our team, we all have poker faces. And so we're like, and taking notes and listening and acting like we're not horrified on the inside. But I had one teammate, Jason, and he could not for the life of him hide whatever was in his mind was on his face. So as he's listening to Mark, he's just like, he just says this look of horror on his face. But the stuff he was telling us was just really grotesque. And it's just he seemed into it, a little too into it. And the other strange things are that the new owners, and I don't know if they still own the property. They might have sold it since then. I'm not sure. But at the time, anyway, it was Robert and Vicky Graves. And the irony of the last name Graves is
And they're
not lost on
doctors.
me. They are medical examiners. Yeah, which is also pretty, odd. And very nice people, though. They were great. But it was very, very clear because Mark will insert himself in people's lives. So he went over and he became friends with the new owners. And he very clearly has a crush on Robert Graves. That was quite obvious to all of us. And then he's also befriended some of the victims' families, which is really, I find very odd. When you were the former lover of the person that murdered them, he's become friends and stays in touch with them. And there's just like this weirdness around it where I don't know. I think there's the potential that maybe he was a little more complicit than he admits, but
I think so too. I've thought that before. We've talked about this. I mean,
yeah.
And I have a question. Was Richard Estep in this too? Did he?
Yeah.
So Richard went there.
Yeah.
He's a big, tall guy too.
Yeah, he's and Mark liked Richard too.
Yeah.
Mark had a little crush on Richard and his British accent. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty clear. So
I hung out with Richard when we were at the paranormal conference in San Antonio. It was the Kling brothers, your buddy Brad.
Yeah, Brad. Yeah, we talk all the time, almost daily. Yeah.
He's a nice guy, but they had the paranormal conference there, and Richard was there.
Yeah.
And he came up to the table, and because I was sitting with Ken Gerhard, and me and Ken are real tight, good friends, and he came up there, and I think he was trying to fish out because they were both releasing a Mothman book at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
What do you know about this book? Is it good? I'm like, I haven't looked at it yet. I told Richard, I was like, look, for a few $100, I'll give you the scoop. I don't have $200. I said few hundred, not 200. What the hell's wrong with you? And I got up and I left. I didn't talk to him after that.
Yeah,
but, that's a joke. I'm joking.
He got real into the. I mean, Richard is on a bunch of shows. He's on like gosh, there's some like paranormal 911 or haunted
Oh
911.
yeah,
Somebody will know.
he's on
Yeah.
a bunch of different
He's on
stuff.
like 3 different shows right now. Yeah. And he's written a ton of books. He actually co-authored a book with Brad about the
Yeah.
Gacy investigation. So
He's a good author, and he used to
Yeah.
box. So we started
actually
talking.
didn't-
He
I
was a
didn't know
boxer.
that
He told
about
me, he's
him.
like, I hear you were a pugilist. And I got up and I was like, bam. I was like, yeah,
How the heck
You
did I
can't
not
see
know that
me.
about him?
these claws of
crazy.
fury. I didn't mess
Yeah.
with him. No, but
Yeah.
he's so tall. He's like 6'6".
He is. He's a big guy. He's
Such a big old
imposing
dude.
and he's really funny. He's a super funny guy too.
Yeah,
So
he's funny. We were joking around and laughing. Like, that's kind of who him and Ken were the ones that kind of hung out with at that conference. But I met a lot of really cool people there.
Yeah.
And there were a couple ladies that were there that they were next to the Blondes and Booze table. I can't remember their names, but they were into the whole paranormal serial killer thing. And I was scoping them out because they're competition now. You know, 'cause we got the TCP thing coming up, you and me and our friends.
Yeah, and we've got that crazy new case to talk about too.
And I was like,
I'm excited.
what cases have you covered? I threw them my card and they were like, ow, why did you hit me in the face with it? I'm like, sorry, seemed a lot cooler when I was going to do it. Now I'm just kind of embarrassed. And then I stole something off their table and left.
Those paranormal conferences are really interesting. You meet a lot of really interesting people. The paranormal world is just, it's interesting.
Some of them are so nice, and then some of them are so pretentious.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I was going to say. It's like it's half and half. Well, not even half and half, but most people are
Weird.
great, like salt of the earth people.
Mhm.
But then you have the ones that they are just egomaniacs, you know, and it's all this drama and I think they consider the paranormal, they're not even as in it because they have a genuine fascination.
No,
They kind of
it's a
see it
money
as
thing.
it's a fast track to fame and money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
And
trying
I asked one of them, I'm not going to say his name, but he was so dodgy. I'm going to be nice about it, but I was like, hey, you know, you interested in coming on the show? You know, because we were talking, and he was next to this Australian guy. I forgot his name. That guy was really cool, the Australian dude. But this guy was like, you going to buy my book? And I'm like, no. No, not going to happen. Sorry. And I was just like, I got other things to buy. I'm not buying your book. I don't even know you. I'm being nice by even.
Right.
He was telling somebody, I don't even know who that guy is. Don't worry about it. No, people do. They don't. I'm not going to lose sleep if you don't know me.
Yeah.
You know?
By the way, while it's on my mind, I wanted to ask, do you want to see if Brad would be interested in coming on sometime?
Sure.
Because I know he's got a lot of he's told me some stories just from that he's had happen like in his personal life that he hasn't shared before, so he might be willing.
And if you don't know, folks,
about it.
Sorry, and I gotta
go.
But Brad, he's the Kling brothers. They had a show called Ghost Lab.
Yeah.
Right. And then if anybody doesn't know who Ken Gerhardt is, he had a show called Missing in Alaska. And I really shot myself in the foot because I always kind of just did this part-time. And I didn't put a lot of, you know, I was just like, yeah, this is in my brain, I'm able to do this and disseminate the information. But if I would have dedicated myself to these last several years of actually doing this full time and just making this my main focus, I'd be way ahead. And I didn't take the advice of certain people. Richard was one of them. He said something to me, and Ken, of course. And then there was Lyle Blackburn and Chad Lewis and David Weatherly. Brad, a lot of people have told me, like, you know, you need to do this, get on this show, go do this, go do that. And multiple people opened doors for me to go on to Coast to Coast. I went on Clyde Lewis a couple times. And then they opened doors for me to go on to television. And I was invited, this is true, I was invited twice to go on to The Unexplained. And both times my job anchored me. I couldn't go.
No, that sucks.
And then the Monster Quest show that I gave like 40 witnesses to, they were asking me if I wanted to go fly to Seattle. And I was like, nope. But now that I have time or whatever, like next month, I'm going to open up a little bit and I'm going to go and do some stuff because I'm going to make a go of this. If this is going to be what I do.
Yeah, you should. And you've got the personality for it. You've got the sense of humor for it. People, I mean, even just all the little extra stories you tell and your impersonations and stuff are hilarious.
You really think so?
And yeah, you've got you've got a magnetic personality. I think everybody in the chat's going to agree with me. That's why they're all here.
I stared to the side. It looked like somebody said it looked like the big boy statue. You know, I thought it was like Campbell's Soup is good food head. You know, I don't know. I always said I had a face for radio, and people are like, "Oh, you're a good looking guy."
Yeah, you're a a good looking guy. Like, no, I think that if you really,
Oh, no.
and it's weird because it was kind of the same for me too. Like there was certain opportunities that opened and doors that opened that were really incredible. And I don't know what my deal was, but I think back like 10, 5 to 10 years ago, I just sort of had a fear of success or something. And so I wouldn't act on them.
Well,
Um,
you had a bunch of people following you on Facebook. Like you
y-
have a lot of people. Like you comment something and everybody runs over. There's like 300
yeah.
comments on there.
Oh, by the way, your the meme that you guys sent me that I posted about the data centers being bunkers and all that, that got
Mhm.
like 500. I just looked
See,
before the show.
on
Yeah,
my
it got
show,
like
on my page, it only got like I don't know hundreds. I don't know what it
yeah,
was.
it's got like 500 or something and like 200 plus shares. So I was like, oh,
Mm.
that's great. I'm glad people are
See,
getting
you
that
send
out.
it to a pretty girl, and they're like, because Nelly
No,
gets a lot of traction. I told Nelly, I was like, you don't show yourself enough, but if she
yeah,
posts things like there's people will go run over there because they're
yeah,
women. A guy,
yeah,
they're kind of like, yeah. Women
yeah.
are always, and it makes sense because we're sitting here talking about serial killers, but women, they have to be
We
leery
do.
of people. To be leery. There's a lot of wackos out there, and
That's why we
then
have our spidey senses where we can pick up on things and people a
exactly,
little more adeptly because
and men are
we had to
haters.
evolve to be that way. Yeah.
The men are
Men are
haters.
what?
They're haters. When you're a guy, other men are haters. They are.
Oh,
Just be
well,
like,
toward other
man, I'm not
men. Yeah.
liking that fool stuff. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
repost that. Yeah, I don't like that guy. And they don't do it.
Yeah.
They just,
Yeah.
but I don't care. But I've seen the hate that women have for a pretty woman as opposed to how the men that hate a guy.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
night and day. Women are brutal, dude. Like
Vicious.
Mean Girls
Vicious.
Club. I have seen it, dude, and they'll tell
Yeah.
you terrible things, and you're just like, geez, I didn't need to know all that,
Yeah.
because they don't like a girl or whatever. And so I'm just glad because I don't have to I don't have to be a part of that.
Yeah. Some weak, effeminate men are that way too, though. Like I used to I've weeded most of them out. I have a policy where I don't block people just for having different opinions. That's perfectly fine. I like
I've
open
had to tell you to
discourse.
block people. I'm like,
Yeah,
get rid of this
but if
now,
they start to really cross the line, I'm like, okay, you're getting the axe, bud. But
Yeah.
I used to have some men that they'd get pissed off about a meme or something, and they'd send me a message and be like, "Oh, why don't you go eat some more donuts, fatty?" And like, "Oh, you're so ugly," and
Yeah, you're not
just this
even
brutal
fat.
stuff. And I'm like, "Do you go to the clinic and get some testosterone, dude? Like,
Well,
what is going
because
on?"
women will take that stuff to heart. They're over there like, taking
And
it personal.
it doesn't.
Men, they say something about me. I don't give a crap. I don't care what they
I
say.
don't it doesn't bother me like that. I don't know why. I think to myself, like, I know who I am. I'm confident in myself. And we all have insecurities. We're all human beings. But when people say crap like that, I just think to myself that that's a them problem. They've got mental toxins going on that are causing them to project
Tons
onto
of
others.
plastic in their body.
Yeah, we all have a tablespoon of microplastics in our
Dude,
brain, but they have an
it's
extra
true.
helping.
But it goes into men's testicles. I'm not even joking. That is
No,
a
I
true
know it
thing.
does.
It's
It's an
contributing to
endocrine
ET.
disruptor. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's all these endocrine disruptors, the soy estrogen mimickers, and there's soy in everything.
everything.
People think like, "Oh, I just don't drink soy milk." No,
Started
no,
back in the
no. Look at your
70s.
labels. It's in everything. Yeah, and then all the pesticides, like when Alex Jones said they're turning the freaking frogs gay. He wasn't kidding. There's
They're making
actually
a
a
joke out
UC
of it, but it was true.
Yeah, there's a UC Berkeley study that showed it was flipping the genders of amphibians with this runoff from atrazine, the pesticide. It's like, it's true, guys. I don't know why you make fun of it. It's true. So I don't think it's any coincidence this mass confusion in gender in our society. I'm sure a certain percentage of it's organic, but I think tons of it is a byproduct of everything we're being poisoned with, unfortunately. But yeah, a
Mhm.
lot of men, I don't know what's been done to their brains, but geez, they are acting like little like
B
bitchy
words.
women.
Well, and this is kind of stuff we talk about on Random Files, and me and Anna, she's
Yeah.
my co-host on there. So
Yeah, I'm getting off in the weeds here.
now let's get back on because we can do Random Files. We can talk about that all day. But this is
Yeah.
interesting what we were talking about. Let's kind of move it back, and it's my own fault. I'm sorry for getting you off
How
track.
dare you? Yeah, how
Yeah,
dare you
but
distract me?
here's the thing. I mean, this guy, Baumeister, he was always very fascinating to me because I always believed that he was the interstate killer.
Yeah. Oh, I think he is.
People have argued
Yeah.
with me about that in different groups and stuff. I'm like, no, it was him because it was
Yeah.
the same MO. and he was
And the
traveling.
timeline of when he was traveling along that corridor, it all lines up. And even the expert investigators strongly feel that that's who it
He
was. So
was
it's not
who it
like it's
was.
just a bunch of internet sleuths that are saying that.
Mhm.
It's actual investigators that agree that they tend to think it was him. So his victim count, who
And
knows?
what
But
he
it's
did too,
terrible.
like when you came on the show and you talked about
Hmm.
this, when we did it was the podcast episodes, which are
Hmm.
different than the live streams, of course, it's not the same, but you did the
Yeah, we split
podcast
it into
episodes,
2 parts.
two
Yeah.
parts, yeah. And you talked about how you had a ton of EVPs. If you
Hmm.
like to hear EVPs, folks, Anna had a bunch of them from that investigation.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was said, it was, who are we talking to? If I remember correctly. And it said the married one. Like
Yeah. Hmm.
the married one, meaning that all the other men that were there, spirits or whatever, they were not married. They were single. And it was possibly Baumeister himself.
Hmm.
And I know that there was a guy that had stayed there when he was living with the Graves, I believe.
Joe LeBlanc. He was a
Talk
tenant in
about that.
Carriage House.
Let's
Yeah,
talk about that.
that's wild. So I don't know if this was a residual haunting thing or if it was active. And I'm sure the listeners will know the difference, so I probably don't need to go into that. But
No.
uh he lived in this you walk up these long steep stairs to the carriage house, and he lived up there. Very nice guy. We interviewed him too, so he was actually there with us, and we were conducting sessions, and he described, I'm trying to remember, I don't think we in particular had anything happen in the carriage house ourselves, but he was describing what occurred, and I think he said it happened more than once. But he would hear this like pounding at the door, and then the door, he said, flew open, and it flew open with so much force that splinters of wood came off the edging of the door. And a guy came running in, like he was literally running for his life, because he probably was. And it was a young man, and he saw Joe and he made eye contact. So it's like it acknowledged in real time that he was there. And it's like he was looking for a place to hide or trying to get away, and he ran through. And Joe was just taken aback, like, what just happened? What was that? But he went and looked, there was nobody there. It was some kind of apparition. So again, I don't know if it was one of the victims that was reliving them trying to get away from Herb. But this was something that he reported it. I'm almost positive he said it happened more than once. So I tend to think maybe it was like a looping imprint on the environment. Um, but yeah, and then he also at one point saw the apparition of a young man. I think he was wearing a red shirt, who was walking across the lawn, and he said he thought it was a real person at first until he noticed there were no legs. Only the upper part of the apparition showed, and it was walking
Yeah.
across. Yeah.
That's very common.
Mhm.
I'm going to throw this out there real quick. I don't want to distract too much, but there was a church we guarded, and I took Nellie there the other day. Anthony, I don't want to say it's a Catholic church, and the guys in charge were really nice to us, and I don't want to, but it was haunted. And finally, one of them, toward the end of our deal there, they were like, "Yes, this place is haunted," because I said there was a light that kept coming off and on, and I went inside
Mhm.
finally, and I was by myself. So I went in there and I thought that, oh, maybe it's being triggered, but what is inside that's triggering it? But then it was a switch, and there was
Yeah.
nobody in the church. And I thought, gosh, dang it. And I kept seeing shadows move around outside. And my other nephew was there with me at one time. It was a 2-man post, but he didn't want to sit on the other side by himself without a vehicle. So we sat in mine and we just kept seeing stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude,
And
this place is so haunted. I was like, yes. And then we heard a woman crying. Like, and yeah, and there was like, remember that little courtyard, Anthony?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just so ridiculous. And one of the people that worked there that would come and clean the church and do stuff, she told us that they saw a man walking through that courtyard, and then when they looked, it was like a monk, right? Because it's
Mhm.
an old church, but all they saw was the top half of him,
Yeah.
no legs. And she was like, "I'm
Yeah.
not lying. I believe you."
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
it
it was
is. It's
crazy.
pretty common. It
No,
makes
not
me.
Church of the Forgotten. I'm sorry, not
No,
Church
you're
of the
fine.
Forgotten Karen. That's not. It's another one. This one we were only there for like 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah,
But
and certain environments, just when you step into them, like I've been to places where people have said this place is super haunted, and you walk in and all of you are like, not, it's just not active right now, apparently, because you just don't really feel much. And then other places sometimes that there isn't even as much reported activity. You walk in and you can just feel this heavy, suffocating presence around you, and you can all sense it. And it's not just some psychosomatic thing where you're like psyching yourself into it because you're expecting it to feel that way. And my team and I, we all, believe it or not, we're all really pragmatic, logical, skeptical people, even though we believe in the paranormal, and they're all professionals. I mean, like, EMTs, firefighters, a prison guard we had on the team, just people who, most of them, it's because they had something happen in their line of work that they couldn't deny, and they had a fascination with it. We had a university professor on the team, so it's not just like a bunch of, yahoos going around like teenagers just trying to have a seance or something. We actually tried to be very, our goal was always to disprove, not to prove that something was paranormal. And it was only when all options were exhausted and there was just absolutely no way to explain it away that we would concede, okay, I think something paranormal is going on here. And that did happen at Fox Hollow. There was a number of things we had happen that could not be explained. And one of those I'll mention, well, there's a few. Let me try to go in
what
sequential.
wasn't, because Andres had he said something.
Sure.
He asked a question. Wasn't the spirit, the apparition that Joe saw?
Yes. Yeah, actually he was. I even thought that when I was talking about it, but it was so long ago. I was like, am I imagining that?
He was
But
dripping wet.
he
Like
was wet.
So that would
He'd
make
been in the
sense.
pool.
Yeah.
He'd been in the pool. Yeah, he probably one of his victims managed to come to or fight him off and tried to run off, and then Herb probably finished him off, chased him down and finished him off.
Dude. Because he was probably, the way he would do it, the guy was probably like, he probably already had damaged something like his arteries, because he was.
Well, he would drug them too.
He
Yeah.
drugged them, but just the drugging itself would probably. But if he's already up and running like that, but he's probably already got something wrong, because he would kill them through asphyxiation. So when you look at the way he did it, he was horrible. He was a horrible dude. I mean,
well, and he was getting off on it, unfortunately. That was his kink. And can you imagine being one of these poor victims that you meet a guy at a bar and he's like, oh, I have this mansion. Why don't you come back? We'll go swimming in the pool. And you're thinking, okay, great. Free drinks and a swim.
About not being a deviant. Not going home with dudes in a bar.
Yeah, but imagine walking into his pool room, because Herb at the time, and I think you can still find photos of this online from the investigation, he had mannequins everywhere that he had dressed up and staged around the pool. So you walk in there and you're probably getting weird vibes from the guy by this point. He's probably acting strange, I would assume. And then he starts strangling you with a pool hose, and you're surrounded by all these creepy mannequins that he has dressed up. I mean, I just can't imagine.
Vincent Ross says probably a cannibal too. Is there anything that could point to that?
I've never heard anything like that.
Either,
but to be honest though, it wouldn't surprise me because of how obsessed with weird, gross bodily stuff he was. Friends from the past said he just had all these really sick proclivities of interest in drinking urine and stuff. So who knows? I don't think that was the case.
But he had this thing. I know Dahmer. He had this thing where he didn't want people to leave him or whatever. He wanted to keep them, make them a part of him.
Yeah.
I kind of wondered about Baumeister, because if you are crushing up bodies like that and scattering them around your property, what is he doing with the meat on the bones?
From what I understand, he just was dragging them into the forest and leaving them there to rot and assuming nobody would find them. I don't even.
But he was crushing up the bones, though.
Oh, actually, yeah. I remember Robert, the new owner, he showed us the burn pile where Herb would burn some of them. So
that's the thing too. And that wife of his, she couldn't look outside and go, what is here? I shouldn't be so mean.
Yeah.
She was so hard to look at, dude. But how can you look at this little punk, Brian Smart? And those are what he called himself.
That was
real cute. I'm smart. You're smart. You're just a deviant little shit. But so he's out there and he's burning some stuff. You
Mm,
can look at this guy and tell he's a weaselly little, and I don't want to say it on this show, but I'll say it tomorrow what he really is. But this is the thing,
yeah.
you know he's a weaselly little shit. Those people are not known for working in gardens, and he's not a green thumb. He's not gonna. Who's doing all the work on his property?
Hmm.
Nobody was there that said, "Hey, the landscaping." He wasn't doing it himself.
Well, actually, they weren't having anybody do it because
Mm,
people said the neighbors had a problem with them because they were letting the property just go to hell.
yeah,
And it's this gorgeous property, but they were letting it become dilapidated. And they said that the inside was like complete. It's gorgeous now, but at the time when the killer lived there, it was like completely cluttered, almost hoarder like, and the grounds were looking terrible. So I don't think there was a landscaper around to discover that. I don't think anybody was really taking care of much of anything. And another thing, when you mentioned Brian Smart, so for people that aren't aware, Herb used that alias name. And a really creepy thing with Mark, who the guy that we interviewed, Lurch, his former lover, he reminded us of Lurch from the Adams Family. I don't know how else to explain it, but anyway, we did like an EVP session with him,
mhm.
and he was walking around with the recorder going, "Brian, Brian, my love, Brian, my love, are you there?" We were like, "What?" You're still in love with him
It's
after you found
crazy,
out he
dude.
was a
Brian, my
serial
love,
killer?
and how
Yeah.
much did Lurch know too? You're gonna say he
Yeah.
didn't know? He had to know. I mean,
Yeah.
and I guess he did cooperate with authorities, though, right? Like, didn't he like?
Yeah, but what else is he gonna do, you know? He doesn't wanna get implicated, so, he I'm trying to remember if he's one of the ones that first came forward. I think he did, but it could have been like, "Oh, no, they're on to him. I better save my butt here and come forward and look like I'm trying to actively help in the investigation." But, it wasn't just us that thought he was weird. Obviously, all of the investigators did too, or they wouldn't have given him that code name. Um, but and just befriending the victims' families and befriending the new owner of the home and inserting himself, that seems like a very I'm not calling him the killer by any means, but some of these psycho killers, they do that. They like to insert themselves in the lives of people that were victimized and kinda, like, feed off of that. So, I don't know what it is, or maybe he's just
Well,
riding the
I know what it
coattails of
is. It
fame that
makes them
come with it.
feel yeah, some of it's that too, but I think they like to feel like I'm so smart. They love that
Yeah,
superior intellect
pulling one
bullshit.
over. Yeah.
Like they got away with something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and why was he the
Yeah.
only one that got away? Why him? And then he knows all this stuff, and he's
They always
like I
get
said, he
caught
was
too with their
yeah,
big mouths. They'll go in there because they just want somebody to know how smart they are. They
yeah,
get tired of keeping it to themselves. They're like, I just gotta tell somebody how
yeah,
smart I am, and they say things, they do things. It's
yeah.
just
Psychopathic people will
mhm.
definitely do that. Yeah, and, so I guess I'll get into some of the paranormal stuff that we had happen. I won't go as in depth because we'll be here for 5 hours like we were last time. But, I'll just kinda skim over some of the craziest stuff that happened. For one
Okay.
thing, at night
Hold on one
and
second.
I
I got to
yeah,
say something because I don't, like you said, we don't want to go. So we could just do this today. We'll talk about this, kind of recapping it,
mhm.
and then go over some of the new evidence that we were talking about with the guy that they found, the new,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then kind of recap it and then go over a few of the things. And then we could always come back to this and do it next week or something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
we'll just
because
come
there's so
back.
much to cover on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you want me to go into kind of the new evidence that they discovered or
We could still recap right now. We got the first
okay.
hour, but we can, we'll have another hour. We'll do it, and then you can recap some of the weird stuff that happened. When you were on the
Yeah.
show, that was years ago. I mean,
Yeah,
that
oh,
was several years ago.
it was like 8 years ago or something. It was
Yeah,
a long
7
time
years ago.
ago.
It's been a
So,
while.
yeah.
We've been friends
And
for a
like
while. So.
yeah, long time. And like I said, I can always briefly recap the alien story that happened to me. I know people had quite a bit of interest in that in the second half of the interview I did before. And then I have personal experiences, like seeing apparitions starting in childhood and stuff, so I can get into all of that. Um, but yeah, some of the crazy stuff that happened was Well, I want to make something clear first. I'll preface this by saying that because people have asked sorry, my dogs are barking. People have asked in the past, like, well, did the owners mess with stuff? Could they have been the ones doing this? No, I firmly believe that this was not the owners messing around with us. They do not seem like the kind of people that do that. They're professionals. You'd have to meet them, but I don't get that feeling at all. And they're very
Well,
used to all the crazy paranormal stuff that happens. They don't even have a need to do that because there's so much crazy paranormal stuff that happens around there all the time. What were you gonna
also,
say?
you got to preface it with it's an 11,000 square foot mansion, and you specifically told me that there were times when you were in another part of the place and they were far away, so they were
Yeah.
up in their rooms, so it wasn't them doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's not like it's just a bedroom next door or something in a small house. I mean, this place is palatial.
How did they I have to ask this question, and maybe I've asked it
Mhm.
before, but I still can't. How do you live in a place like that, especially with the paranormal
Yeah,
activity going
we
on?
asked them too, and I think they have a different perspective on it because of their profession being medical
Yeah.
examiners and dealing with death all the time, so they have more of a clinical viewpoint on it. But they have said, when we bought this place, we thought that we'd be able to detach from the history of it and just enjoy living here, but we realized the history is just always gonna come with it, and it's just become a part of
Are they
our
still
life.
there? Do you know?
I'm not sure because I thought they were, and I looked it up earlier, and it seemed like it indicated that they were, but I had heard someone say that the property had gone up for sale a while back, so maybe it didn't sell. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not
I think I
it'd
heard
be
that
kind of
too.
a hard property to sell, I would think. Um, yeah, so anyway, I don't think it was them messing with us at all, but for instance, so the pool is on that ground level that leads out to the backyard, which leads out to the forested area where he left the bodies. And next to the pool room, there is a really nice bar room, and they have these fully stocked liquor shelves and just a very nice bar room. There's a pool table, lounge area. And so that was kind of our headquarters for the investigation. We'd sit in there a lot. But the owners told us that for some reason there's one bottle of liquor on the shelf that always dries itself. It always goes empty. And they'll replace it over and over again, but it always just magically goes empty. And they said there's nobody else that would be sneaking in here consuming this. Like, we don't know what's happening with it. And then we'll go and buy a new one and replace it. And I don't remember which type of liquor it was, but it was one bottle in particular. And what's extra odd about this is it might just be like, okay, that's an interesting story. But we were in that bar room, and on the last night of investigations, my team and I always had a tradition of going out and taking a group photo together. And so we decided we were going to go do it in the creepy forest. And so one of my teammates, she filled up her water thermos right before at the bar sink, and she wasn't thinking anything of it. She screwed the cap on, set it on the counter, and then we went out to take the photo together as a group, came back in maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes later. The whole thing was empty. It had drained itself. All the water was gone. And the other weird thing regarding missing liquids like that is that we had one of those gigantic, like 24 packs of water bottles that's all sealed in plastic, like really big, not easy to move, really heavy. And we had been having some strange activity in that room. I think the sliding door kept opening on its own. And so one of my teammates, kind of the technical guy, he set up the camera so that while we were gone for the night, because we would go and stay in a hotel overnight and then come back during the day. And we do investigations late into the night, but we go back to the hotel to get a few hours of sleep. So before we left, he set up the camera facing the sliding door to try to capture what was going on and what was opening and closing it. And he's on the film, and you can see him adjusting it, and the water bottles are in the way a little bit. So he pushes them just like an inch out of the way of the view of the camera, not thinking anything of it. He doesn't want it blocking the view. And we went to go do some other investigation stuff, and when we came back, those water bottles just disappeared into thin air. They were completely gone, and to this day, none of us have any idea how that happened. And I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think the Graves were even home at the time. So how something like that just dissolves into thin air, I have no idea, but it wasn't any of us. And then on audio, we would have overnight, we would have the doorknob to the pool room just like jiggling like crazy, like somebody was just rapidly moving it back and forth, desperately trying to get into the door or something. And then one of the weirder things was we decided, okay, well, we're at a serial killer's place, so let's go out into the, it sounds kind of horrible, but we bought a shovel and we went out into the forest to dig and kind of see, because they find remains all the time. We just wanted to sort of see what was out there. And so we did that. And we wound up coming across what appeared to be a weathered human tooth. And so we're each taking it up in our hands and holding it, and we have EV, recorders running, and we're all actively having this discussion, like, is that a tooth? And we're talking back and forth to each other, trying to figure it out. And on the EVP, clear as day, a voice comes through, and it sounds like a young man, and it sounds like he has a very strained voice, like he's trying to get air, but it's absolutely a human. You can tell. It's not just a bunch of garbled sound that you can kind of put together. You might be able to interpret what's being said differently depending on who's listening, but it's definitely a human being. It's definitely a human voice, a young male, and it sounds like this, like this strained voice. And to me and some of my teammates, it sounded like, as we were saying, is that a tooth? It said that right there. That's what we got out of it. I think I played that EVP when I was on the show before. Yeah. So yeah, it was that was one of the most incredible ones. And then there were a few other little things here and there. And another interesting thing is that there is this psychic named Brian, ironically, same name. And he said that he knew nothing about the case whatsoever. I'm just going to take his word on this, and he seemed like a trustworthy person. And he said that one day these spirits kept coming. He knew that he had these psychic abilities, but these young male spirits kept coming to him and saying, you need to get in the car and you need to follow us. You need to get in the car and follow us. So finally he did. And he said they literally led him turn by turn straight to Fox Hollow Farm. And again, he says that he didn't know anything about the property or what it was. And the gate of the property is far away from the actual mansion itself. So you have to have someone there to open the gate, let you in, and then you have to drive a pretty long distance to get down to the mansion. But it just so happened right when they allegedly guided him there that Robert was standing at the sign at the gate, able to let him in. And he pulled up and said, I know this is going to sound really crazy, but these spirits led me here. And Robert told him, okay, well, that's interesting. And he explained to him the history of the property, and they actually wound up becoming really good friends. And so he had Brian, the psychic, come by, and it's kind of funny because usually when you picture a psychic, you wouldn't picture a guy that looks like this. He looks like he's a black guy, and he looks like an NFL linebacker or something, but really nice guy. And he spent a lot of time with us too. And he said that according to him, there's like literally an energetic portal in the pool area. And he said that there is an inhuman entity that he has sensed that prowls along the forested area. Now, whether that demonic entity or whatever it is was attracted there due to the atrocities that happened, or or influenced what happened, I have no idea, but that's what he told us. And another reason that I actually put some stock in what he said is because he offered to give all of us readings. And so we went to his apartment and sat down individually, privately with him, and had him give us individual readings. And when he did mine, it was spot on. He told me some stuff that was like, as soon as he touched my hands, he told me some things that were absolutely spot on. And so I tend to think if he's, that accurate about us individually, perhaps he's accurate about what he's saying with the property.
And the thing about it is too, so let's get into that for a minute. We'll just segue into there's a lot of debate about how a demonic and human spirit ends up being on a property. Now, there is a possibility that like follows like, and he was evil, so he was attracted to this property. Although I got to say, French Tudor is very beautiful. If people don't know what French Tudor is, it's basically like an architecture
It's like
I don't know how you describe it.
stucco with
It's
kind of stucco with like the
French
wood
elements,
beams,
and
and
the thing
looks like
is
a
though,
Snow White
French
cottage.
Tudor is Normandy, right? That's the reason that is because the Tudors were English, right? But there was part of a deal that they gave up when the Spanish and the English attacked the French under the reign of King Henry VIII. I'm going to nerd out history wise for a minute here. They took over Normandy. They seized that area. And that area had been occupied since the time of the Norman conquest. They were Vikings that had been seated that the French were like, just take it, whatever. But then William the Conqueror and they took over England. And so that he would go back there kind of as his base of operations. And so when the Normans conquered England, and so eventually though the French kind of took it back, but then there was like I don't want to say like a huge battle there, but they took it. The English took back control of it at one time. So you have this architecture that came out of that region, and it's called French Tudor.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very pretty. It's very beautiful. So maybe he was just attracted to the French Tudor architecture. I know I like it. It's very pretty. We almost got a house that was that way. And then we had too many problems. I was like, no, we're not going to do it. But the thing about that is there could have been a demonic entity there that was kind of attracting him there because it would feed, they feed each other symbiotically until the entity is done with you, which is what happens.
Yeah.
Or his predilections, attracted something through this portal, and this could be something that showed up there to, and then, or it attached itself to Brian Smart, it attached itself to Baumeister and lived vicariously through him. And then when he went and unalived himself, this thing stayed. Unattached itself and stayed. Somebody in the comments, in fact, it was Nathan Davis. Yeah, and he says here, I think the land needed blood. Possibly. Nathan made a comment earlier. You made a comment on here. You always have really good comments, but he said that he thinks the pool is still dangerous. He thinks the whole thing is still a dangerous place.
Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it, because I think that there is some inhuman entity there. What people don't understand either is the Christian and Islamic perspective is that the moment you die, you just go to heaven or hell. That you can go to heaven or a hell, depending on who or what you've done. But that wouldn't actually jibe with the whole idea that we're going to be judged at the end of this, right? Because if you're already up in heaven, why do you need to be judged? Yeah. So that doesn't make sense. And there are parts of the Bible that people don't understand, and they just try to make sense of it. So they go along with whatever the preacher said, whatever their denomination, whether they're Baptist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Catholic, whatever. And I understand that. You just go along with what they say. But I'm here to tell you right now that that is not necessarily the case. And there is a purgatory, but it is not necessarily a place so much as a state of being. So you could end up kind of confined to a particular area, and these spirits are obviously not at rest. I can't stand it when people, one or the other, they'll say they believe in ghosts. This happens a lot in the ghost community. Anna can attest to this. They believe in ghosts, but not demons, right? Oh, this is all God. I don't believe in demons. And they'll say that. There's a lot of people that say that.
It's and very then, naive.
Yeah, very naive. And then they have the other end of the spectrum says everything is a demon. These are spirits masquerading as spirits of the deceased. They can absolutely mimic spirits of the deceased. They absolutely do masquerade as that. But it also says to test the spirits.
Yeah, right? It doesn't always mean. I was thinking about this earlier. Yeah, and it's not always the case that it's demonic. It can certainly happen, so you do have to be careful. You don't want to be on the naive spectrum where you're just like, oh, everything's love and light, and anything I communicate with is for my highest good. And it's like you got to be careful, and they will pretend to be your friend or your grandma or your spiritual guide or whatever, and they're trying to lead you astray. But that doesn't mean that there aren't actually things like true human spirits that come to let you know they're okay, or that maybe are still lingering around a property because something horrible happened to them, or even like spirit guides. That's probably a thing too, that there are positive forces that are trying to help people, but you just have to be really careful.
I know that we covered a case one time. There was a black woman, and she was convinced she was talking about her grandmother, and her grandmother was convinced that her husband was coming to visit her. And so
Hmm.
I asked the younger, about her grandmother, and I think she was like in her 30s or something. And she says, well, my grandmother's old, and she's like, I don't believe it's him because of the eyes. And I said, why? What's going on with the eyes? She said, the spirit that comes back to her is green eyes. And I was like,
That's
okay,
kind of
that is
disturbing.
absolutely not, because these entities don't get it 100% right. And
Yeah.
that green glow, there is a type of energy that comes from that and these entities, and they'll use that
Hmm.
green. And I told her, that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
It
And
comes up
there's
with the
also,
dogman phenomenon, Bigfoot, and these
uh-huh.
entities.
Yeah, and there's also the straight up, I don't know why I'm blanking on that. Doppelgangers. I've actually had a doppelganger experience in my own home once where, and I've heard this talked about at certain locations we would go to and investigate, and they would have crazy stories about doppelganger experiences with these spirits mimicking other people around them, and they would be convinced it was that person until they started acting really weird, or they disappeared in front of them, or something happened and it turned out it wasn't them. Or of course you hear about like somebody calling your name and it sounds like your loved one, but then it turns out your loved one's in the room next to you and it's not them. But I had something happen once where I I was living at home. This was way back in the day with my parents, and I walked upstairs, and my mom was like really confused, and she's like, "You just walked up here and walked past me." And I said, "No, I didn't. I just woke up." And she's like, "No, I literally saw you. You came up the stairs and you walked past me, and I thought it was really odd because you didn't respond to me when I said something to you." And, I was like, "No, that wasn't me. I literally just woke up and got out of bed and came up here for the first time today." So, I don't know what that was about. My mom she passed away, 3 years ago from cancer, and I miss her every single day. She was the most incredible human being you can possibly imagine,
Sorry.
and everyone who knew her well knew that she was extremely psychic. She didn't do, like, readings or anything like that, but naturally, she was just, like, beyond intuitive, unbelievably psychic, and so she had a lot of incredible experiences in life where, the paranormal, I think, was kind of attracted to her, and it seems like that was sort of passed down to my sisters and I because we've all had a lot of very odd paranormal encounters as well. But yeah, I guess apparently I walked upstairs and walked past her and wouldn't say a word to her, and she thought that was really odd, and it definitely wasn't me, so I don't know what that was about.
So I got to say something. Richard says, one of four chambers. See, I believe that was the case, but when Christ came, it changed. I have my beliefs, I have my reasons for believing that. I believe it absolutely changed.
Wait, what did he say?
You go to one of four chambers that holds the souls of men from
Oh,
Enoch.
oh,
But
yeah.
Jesus actually went and he ministered to these beings. And now somebody's, of course, this always happens. Clint is, and you're Clint. You've been on the show before. You've told your encounters. He says reincarnation, Wolf, is a
It actually is in the Bible.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I believe when Jesus says you must be born again, I think that was taken out. And there
Yeah,
were
well,
multiple councils. Everybody always talks about the Council of Nicaea, but there were hundreds of these councils where they
yeah, well,
just took things.
and Jesus also, explicitly said that, Elijah he didn't use the word reincarnation, but he said he had returned as John the Baptist. Because people were saying something to him about, well, this prophecy can't come true until Elijah returns, and he said he has returned and said it was John the Baptist. I'm paraphrasing, but it
Yeah.
was very obvious that's what he was referring to.
Yeah, a lot of people challenge me on that, but I know what I know. New Age, Clint, I'm not into the New Age. You know me well enough to know. I mean, Clint has challenged me on my show. And you've said things I don't like, Clint. I'm not rude about it. You've said some things, I think you just start talking and you don't really realize it. But the thing is, I'm not into the New Age. I'm not.
Mhm.
But I know that reincarnation exists. There is a ton of
It does. There's tons of evidence.
empirical evidence. And I will say this circumstantially, you can say, well, that's not necessarily, but there are children that are reborn with these memories and they can tell you who killed them.
Hmm.
And then they have a birthmark. I mean, I think it's just part of it, dude. I mean,
To me, it makes logical sense that that would be part of the machinery of the universe. As a matter of fact, there was that abductee. She said that she was told by these beings that took her that reincarnation is the machinery of the universe. I remember that quote.
mm,
I mean, to me, it just makes logical sense as well. So, yeah. So I don't know what that doppelganger thing was about, but there was some
but
odd
hold on.
experiences. Yeah,
Before you go, what you said, just so people, when they
sure.
challenge this, you
Hmm.
can say it's Matthew 17:12 through
Yeah,
13,
there you go.
where Jesus talks. Matthew is a great book.
Yeah.
But if you go and you hear what he says, he tells the disciples that Elijah had already come, and he references John the Baptist. It's very telling. A lot of
Also,
people. Go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say, if you don't mind talking about that for just a second, I'm going to run and close the door because the dogs have been barking. So I
Okay.
will be right back.
Whatever you want to do. But that's it. I mean, that's just and John the Baptist was Jesus's cousin, and so I think that they were a part of a holy lineage. And then there's some that believe, I'm not one of them, I don't know this, but there are people that believe that Enoch became Metatron and that eventually he kept coming back until he was Jesus. Now, I'm not saying I believe that. Don't go run and say, well, what said is no, but there's people that do believe that. Some of them are scholars. They do believe that. So the Bible also, too, we were talking about this last night on the show, it's been changed. It's been changed by men over and over again, and it's been changed by the Mandela effect. The lion lays down with the wolf, not the lion laying down with the lamb. That's
Yeah,
not
that's
correct.
weird.
I mean, that's weird. I mean, I think I would remember something like that, but I didn't remember Joshua and Caleb's war on AI. So I was like, oh, okay, that threw me. Richard got me with that one, but how could I not remember that? But I'm not perfect. I'm not infallible. I am wrong sometimes. And so I just, you admit that you're wrong, whatever. But the Bible is, I don't want to say subjective, but there are
There's
so many
layers.
books that have been taken out. And if you want to get down to the real Bible that
Hmm.
was in the early church to now, it is completely different.
Yeah.
The church took out pretty much anything that had to do with reincarnation because and I see their problem with it. I mean, I don't think it's right though, but I see their problem with it because people would be like, "Oh, well, I'm just going to die and come back."
Yeah,
They don't
it's
have to. They don't have.
harder to control people too
Mhm.
if they had left in some of the things that
They're just like, "Well,
they took out.
I'm not going to worry about this. I'm just going to come back," you know. And people get some goofy ideas in their head. They'll think, "Yeah, I'm going to do this and that," Sure you will. You could come back in a way more horrible life. It's just, and then my belief is this: you come back, if you're coming back over and over again, there's one of two things. You have a purpose and you're supposed to come back, you're a teacher or whatever, or you're just making and every time it's getting harder to transcend to God. And that's what I think.
Mhm.
I think that it's becoming harder, And Clint, I'm not trying to bag on you. I'm just saying I know there are things that I've said that you don't agree with, but there's things that you have said on the show I don't agree with either. So we can agree to disagree.
Yeah. That to me, that's a sign of intelligence when people can just respectfully have intellectual discussions or debates, agree to disagree, respect each other's opinions. And also when you're presented with new data, new evidence, and you have the flexibility and ability to change your mind, that's such to me a sign of intelligence. But there
Yeah,
are so
we
many
do.
people that are incapable of that. They just block it out and absolutely refuse, And that doesn't mean anything you say they have to change their mind on, but to not even be able to entertain a concept. A lot of people, it seems like they have I've told you before, like I've studied like Luciferianism and Satanism, not because I'm interested in it. I absolutely detest it, but because it's important to kind of understand your enemy and understand how they think.
Absolutely. I
And
mean, it's it's like I said on the show before, reading Mao Zedong's red book doesn't make me want to go and become a
right.
red Chinese communist. I mean, that's
But
just not the thing.
But some people have this mentality that it's like if they even touch another concept, it's going to glom onto them and change them somehow or something. And
Yeah.
I find that odd. It's like, no, you can absorb information, take out of it what you need or what you find to resonate, and throw out the rest, and just have a wider understanding of the world and other people. So, yeah,
But I put
I don't know.
myself on a limb out there with the audience and with everybody by saying what I believe. But I've told the truth about what I believe. And in fact, I cried on the show because my emotions, whatever. And I talked to a person that came on the show, and I told her about my past life. One of them, anyway, that was it stuck with me. And I would have these recurring dreams from when I was young, and it would just keep coming back and coming back. And then later I got confirmation from my friend's mother.
Hmm.
And I've talked about it on the show. I'm not going to get into it tonight. It's too much, and I've relived that over and over and over again in
Yeah.
dreams. And I know it's not being planted there by the devil. That is what happened. And so it gave
Yeah.
me an understanding though about what these people, but
Yeah.
anyways, enough about that.
I was going to mention just briefly too, since you said that, and I won't go into the details to save time, but my dad and I actually have identical flashes of these memories from a pretty traumatic past life that I think that we actually shared at one point. And
You reincarnate with the same people.
yeah, they say that you tend to reincarnate in the same soul family.
Yeah.
I mean, for all you and I know, we've known each other in a past life. I think people
Nah,
cross your paths in life for a
I didn't
reason.
know you. I didn't know you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I hung out with some seriously cool people.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I took pity
Um,
on you years ago. I was like,
you're like, she needs a
yes, you
friend.
can come on my show and talk about
I
what was
know.
it again? Boo
Yeah,
Monster, Baba Moose. Who is this guy?
yeah, and your
Yeah.
your floating blob creature that came up to you. Yeah, you weirdo.
You're like,
Um,
what is this? What is this ancient alien thing? What is this? I got things to do. I don't know what you're doing.
the floating
Last night, I got to
hashtag
say this
alien.
though. Last night, because me and Anna have known each other forever. Like this, you've known me before. I thought we met before this, wasn't it? When I was on Dogman Radio, I thought.
I started listening to you on there, and then as soon as you
Yeah,
got your own show, I was like, I got to contact this guy
yeah.
and tell him about this alien thing that happened to me.
So,
Yeah,
so you've known of me, and I've known you for at least several years, 8 years, whatever.
yeah, it's getting close to a decade.
Yeah, and Richard, I've known Richard for about as long. But me and Richard, we actually agree to joke around on here, like So it's kind of like a shtick. But then people get mad. I told Richard yesterday, I said, "Dan, we
Like
can't
last
do that no
night,
more." People get mad at me because they think I'm just busting his balls just to be a
right?
dickhead, and I am not the
That's how
dickhead.
men bond.
It
In
was
my
just
experience, that's how men bond.
no.
Being
Me and
jerks
Richard,
to
though,
each other.
Richard's like, "Yeah, dude, we just keep playing it up, whatever." And I was like, "Okay," because we were talking, we were joking. I said, and I called him the other day after the show. I said, "Hey, I didn't take it too far, right?" I did. I called him. I was like, he said, "No, it's good, dude. It's good." Unless he's playing me to get sympathy, which if you are, Richard, I've outed you now. But Jet Zool yesterday was like, "You leave him alone."
Yeah, I
That
saw
poor
Richard's
guy's living behind the timber.
I think Richard's in the chat. Hi, Richard.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Oh, also, I saw some people when you were talking, I was glancing at the chat, and some people were asking about the portal for more details on that, and also about the potentially demonic. He said it was an inhuman entity, and the way he described it was not a good one. It was a dark, inhuman
Well, did he
entity.
give any details about this entity? What did it look like?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to remember. I remember him describing it as being very large. I don't think he gave details about like specific physical attributes, but I just remember getting a mental picture. He said red eyes, not good, and large and inhuman, and that it would prowl around through the area where the bodies had been left, which makes me think, well, it's probably attracted to the energy of what occurred. But for all we know, I mean, Baumeister himself was probably possessed. I don't know how you can do that to people without having some kind of demonic influence on you. Or at the very least, if you have those proclivities and you're doing those horrible things, you're probably inviting in
Oh yeah.
some sort of oppression or
There was
possession.
demons on that guy, and probably more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. Like, what is the purpose of these people? Because I think everything in life has a purpose, and things are organized in the universe, and God has a plan. But it's just like, what is the purpose of these weird people that incarnate here? And um, I heard a really interesting theory once. I don't know if anybody in the chat has ever read this, but there's a book that was written by a woman that used to be in the military back in like the 1940s. And I think it's called The Alien Interview. Probably somebody's going to know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And it's, if you haven't, have you read that, Wolf?
Hmm.
Yeah, and in part of it, this entity was explaining that Earth is actually, it is kind of a prison planet, and there is like an energetic matrix sort of controlling things and controlling people's consciousness and wiping our memories when we come here. But it said that the reason Earth is such a weird eclectic mix of like the best of the best, these amazing artists and musicians and poets and loving, giving, wonderful people, and then these absolute monsters, is because like on other planets or in other places in the universe, they send the souls here that they are exiling, and it's kind of to send them to this prison planet, and so we get some of the best and the absolute worst of the
Worst of the
worst.
worst.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that too. The Intergalactic Council and different stuff.
Yeah,
And Clint fired back, and I know Clint, and he's been on the show before and told his experiences on a Monday. But it's interesting because Clint says Elijah never died. Basically, if you were to be reincarnated, you would have to die. That's not necessarily the case. You don't, because there are monks that claim, Buddhist monks that claim death, and they come back. But that's
Mhm.
not the immortals, and we've talked about that on the Patreon, right? Was it Patreon, Anthony?
Yeah, that was Patreon.
These aren't they like 7 of them or 8 of them or something?
There's 7 of them.
7 of the
Mhm.
immortals, and they're called the Xiaojing. The Xiaojing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've done a lot of study on Chinese culture and
Yeah.
Eastern whatever. I'm not one of those comes back and is like, oh, namaste, I've learned from the East.
They're so much smarter than we are.
They know so much more than we do. We're just stupid. Did you know that the Europeans were so dirty? They were so dirty. They were so dirty. And we went to the East and they were all clean and stuff. And I'm not one of those.
Burning incense and smell of patchouli.
Exactly. Doing all this, it's like, I'm not one of those people. Okay. People already know me. If I tell you, I speak from the heart. I tell you what I'm not going to bow down. I'm not a bootlicker to anybody, but this is the truth. I believe that is real. And I do believe that now the scholars always, nowadays they always say, well, Jesus was talking about you have to be born again in the spirit. How do you know that? Jesus wasn't saying Elijah was John the Baptist. How do you know that? That's metaphorically, yeah, they could say that, but that doesn't mean that that's true. And so nobody really knows. I mean, you can say that. So agree to disagree. That's fine. I do have my beliefs. I don't know if I 100% believe that Elijah was John the Baptist, but I will say this in the argument. Believing in reincarnation is not a prerequisite for salvation. Mute point. We used to say mute. Now it's like moot point.
A moot point.
And I tell you right now, I believe the word behooved has changed too. I'm not going to get into it.
That word always weirds me out. I have a weird relationship with that word.
To me too. I think the Mandela effect has changed it, and I'm going like, that's not correct. I remember using it differently. The way you were using it wrong. Really? Because I don't think so. I have a pretty firm grasp on the English language.
Yeah. Like I know what it means, but I never use it because I'm always like, that doesn't even sound like a real word. It's just a weird word.
Kind of goofy, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's whatever. I didn't mean it, but I had to. We in this show we segue in, that. But so what you're saying about this whole investigation, it always fascinated me, and I was so thrilled to meet somebody that knew about this Baumeister case because it kind of got buried, and I think that there was a reason for that. I'll say it tomorrow night why I believe it was buried, and I think that it didn't get as much traction as it should have. But the media loves to pick out certain things and ignore other things. And I think there's a good reason for that, for them, not a good reason, but they have a reason for that.
Yeah.
But it is wrong for us to have to deal with it.
Sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean
No,
to
you go
interrupt.
ahead.
I was just going to say there was one other paranormal thing that, I mean, there was quite a few things, but a big one that happened while we were there that was interesting is, as I mentioned, we would go back to the hotel. On those investigations, man, I was always exhausted because, you investigate all night long. You go to the hotel, sleep maybe 2 or 3 hours, and you're up at it again for days on end. But we went back to the hotel, and Richard, our team leader, got a call from the owners, and they said, "Hey, we're really sorry to bother you, but could you guys please keep down the noise? We're trying to sleep." And he's like, "We are all back at the hotel." And her reaction wasn't like, "Oh my gosh." It was just like, "Oh, okay," because she knows, what goes on there and all the bizarre things that they have happened. But apparently, it was just this cacophony of noise going on down in that pool room area where we had been investigating, and we weren't there at all.
Hmm. And that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that happened to us too. When we had where we used to live years ago, me and my brother and a couple of our friends had gone down to Houston, and we were there for like 3 or 4 days. And when I came back, my neighbor was like, "Hey man, you guys were playing some really loud music. It was vibrating our house." And I'm like, "No, we weren't.
Yeah.
Nobody was there."
Yeah.
So I mean, and we had actually people that would come and babysit our dog, and they would come and check on her, feed it every day. And one of those guys was doing some kind of study, like a medical study or something like that.
Hmm.
And the other guy was in jail. I said that there was nobody. So we had paid someone for our dogs to be kenneled.
Hmm.
And so we paid them, and they took care of them while we were away. And there was somebody that could keep them in the backyard, and they like to play with their dogs. So I just paid them and said, "Here, can you want to be gone for a few days?" So 100% nobody was there.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt to me like the most of the activity we were getting, it wasn't nefarious. It actually felt almost, I don't want to say playful, but kind of mischievous. Like it knew that we had an interest in what was going on, and I felt like maybe it was one of the victims or some of the victims, and they were just sort of in almost a playful way trying to let us know that they were there. Not playful, like, I mean, obviously they're not going to be joyous about what happened to them, but there was just a certain, it didn't feel like ominous and freaky. It just, even the thing with like the water bottles, right when he slid it just ever so slightly off camera, so it was something we wouldn't see disappear, it felt thought out. Or when my teammate filled her water bottle and we walked out, came right back in, and the water bottle's empty, and we'd just been talking about how that one liquor bottle would drain. So it just felt like they were trying to give us little signals to let us know that they were there.
Mm.
And when people asked about the portal and for more details on that, I don't think he really gave us a ton of details on it. He just said that there was an energetic portal that was literally located in the pool, which is where the murders happened. And that and whether that portal was opened because of what he did or if it was already there and that's why he was doing that, I don't know. Obviously we'll never know, but he said that this portal, there was just tons of entities coming in and out of it, and so it was a highly active location.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I think that, there's obviously always more that we can go into later on, but I think that kind of recaps the basics. And I don't know if you wanted me to go into the alien thing, or if you want me to kind of go back into childhood and when I started first seeing apparitions, or where you want me to go from here.
This is an interesting thing right here. This person says, "I was in jail with Diane Zamora, and she was haunted by the girl she killed."
Wow.
We did a case on True Crime Paranormal. This is going to be good when you start doing the True Crime Paranormal with us in September.
I'm excited.
It's
Yeah.
going to be awesome because we have Rain and Maddie and Anthony,
Yeah. It's going to be great.
and we're going to be doing it. And we have Nellie helping us with the research and doing what she always does, which is always helping. And we talked about the Chris Watts case and how
Mhm.
he is still haunted by
Yep.
his family and the spirits of his family.
And he keeps photos of him in his jail cell or prison cell, I mean.
Yeah, because he misses them, huh? Yeah, after he murdered them. Why would you?
Yeah.
You're a psychopath. Doesn't make sense. But he says he sees their faces, and that happens. There are a lot of people who have done these kind of heinous things, and then they say that they are haunted by these
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
And I always
And
thought that was interesting. Go ahead.
there was a bunch of, as I'm sure most people know, there was a bunch of paranormal activity reported at the home after he committed the
Mhm.
murders.
What we were doing on True Crime Paranormal on YouTube, and that for whatever reason YouTube didn't like us, so but we were studying the different demonic entities that were responsible for the hauntings, and what could have been going on with these killers, what was infecting them in their minds and their souls and causing them to be murderers. And we were
Mhm.
using the Ars Goetia, the 72 demons of the Ars Goetia, but those are not demons. Those are actually archons. And they each have tons and tons of legions. And each legion is like 6,000 beings, but you don't ever anywhere hear the names of, just like take one, for example, like Barbatos. You hear about him. Okay. You know that he's got all these different legions that are behind him. Look him up, Anthony. See what it says, what his number of legions are and how many he has. I believe that they are fractals of themselves.
Hmm.
And I think it's kind of like the soul matrix. So so literally we were talking about reincarnation earlier, and in John 1:21, John himself asked,
30 legions.
30 legions. So then he has, times 6,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do the math. I mean, this guy has 360,000. Is that what that is? So he's got a ton of
180,000.
foot soldiers. Yeah, 180,000 foot soldiers that he has, but they are just him. Because if these entities that he has that follow him and they go into a human, right? And this is most important. I don't think I've ever said this on the show. I don't know if I said it on PRT, but if they go into a human host and a priest, be it Orthodox, Catholic, or Lutheran, whatever, and they try to cast these demons out, they get the name. They'll say, "I am Barbatos," but it's not necessarily the Barbatos himself. It's the fractals of him
It's
representing him.
interesting.
They're a part of him. Yeah.
Like I
And
Am Legion kind of
yeah, I
thing.
am Legion, but they all are
Yeah.
part of the same horde that belongs to that particular. So it's kind of like a house banner, right? Because like in Game of Thrones, you have Stark, you have Lannister, Targaryen.
Mhm.
They will answer, I am from Lannister, like I represent. So they're not necessarily the main guy, but that's who they are. That's who they're a part of, and
Mhm.
that's what it is. So it gets kind of weird. People don't understand it, but they think that particular entity himself is going to be these archons. If they took over a human body, they would absolutely destroy it.
Yeah.
Okay, these are their fractal soul. So why that's important too is because when you deal with the reincarnation thing, the fractal of yourself, you like when somebody asks me, "Are you Fritz?" Right? Are you this guy that you used to be? No, I'm not. I'm Wolf. I'm Josh. I'm not. When I die, will I go back to the soul matrix and become a part of that oneness again? Probably. Yeah. It's hard to explain, and I really don't get too deep into that on the show because it's too much for people to handle. They're not gonna. They're
Yeah.
gonna be like, oh, I don't. So when you start to understand what that is and get that you are just part of a greater whole, right? So people have a problem with this. They say, well, Jesus is God, right? They'll say that. And they say, but Jesus he says distinctly, the only way to the Father is through me, right? And then he also says that he sits at the right hand of the Father, making a clear distinction between him and the Father and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
So they are all one, but that's like Anthony, your dad and you look a lot alike.
Mm-hmm.
You are definitely a part of him. But you're distinctly two different people, but you are still part of him.
Yeah.
You can look at you and tell you look like a younger version of him, just darker, And so you are part of that same whatever. Jesus is a part of his Father.
Right.
So people, though, they have a hard time with it. They can't really wrap their mind around it. And so then they say, well, Jesus is God. They believe that. And yes and no. In the way that he is a part of his Father, but he's also saying, you go through me to him. So when you pray, I believe the correct way to pray, and if you don't believe it, don't believe it. I'm not going to push it. But I think that you should pray to God, I come unto you in the name of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask the Father for what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. You can ask the Holy Spirit for help, which I believe is the good energy spirit that goes into all of us and emanates from the throne, the seat of God that is all good. That to me is an oversimplification, but that is kind of what it is. And so you look at these entities that attack people and attach to people, and these killers. Like, I haven't looked into Baumeister and seen which one he would be necessarily, but there are some that you could look at and say, this could be, who he is. One of them from way back from the song and Key of Solomon and all those different whatever was Orneus or Anias, depending on how you pronounce it. I believe that he could be one of the ones, or his fractals could be very involved in the serial killers that are not straight. And I have reasons why I believe that, because if you go and you read about him, and Nathan Zavis says Asmodeus. I think he is involved in, like, Chris Watts. I think, he would be the one more involved in that. Not Orneas, but that one you just put on there.
What are the traits associated with that one that he just wrote?
Asmodeus is responsible for the ruination of man's souls through destroying their family. He causes marital strife.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That would apply.
Somebody who annihilates their family. That would be, to me, that would be his handiwork. Arnias or Arnias, whatever, he was known to have a predilection for young boys, younger, effeminate, boys. That was his. It says that about him in the Ars Goetia. And then you look at him and his specific patterns or whatever. He was attacking the manservant of Solomon. He was attacking his son. He was going after him, because he was a young boy. So Gacy, you would look at those kind of entities, but you got to remember, though, it's not necessarily that entity. It is the fractals of himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the legions that follow them, because there's nowhere where you can I've looked for it high and low. There's nowhere where you can find the names of these legionnaires, not even the squad leaders. You would think that there would be. They're all just answering to that same name, which tells me they're all part of them.
Yeah.
And we can't really understand that, because we are just one fractal of a soul that goes back to a soul matrix, that you rejoin with those that came before you, that you were a part of. I know that sounds so hard. And if you say too much, people are going to be like, oh, it's weird. Oh, they want to believe that it's all straight like this and narrow.
Yeah, it has to be in boxes.
Yeah, and they don't really want to hear all that. But, in John 1:21, John asks, art thou Elijah? And he answers, I am not. Well, that's not the end of it. That doesn't mean that, John the Baptist says he's not. That just means that he's not. Like, he is John the Baptist. That doesn't mean that his soul is not that. Mm-hmm. That is because it says it is for a man to live and die but one time. Yes, you will live and die one time as Josh. That doesn't say that you won't live and die multiple times as other people who are distinctly different from you, but you are part of that same soul.
And when it says it's appointed unto man once to die, something along those lines, you could also interpret that as being the human body, that when we're in a human vessel,
exactly.
It's appointed that we're going to die. But that doesn't mean that our true form and spirit doesn't continue on eternally and potentially recycle and come back.
People want to believe that your soul, once you're done with this short period here on earth. Well, that's it. You've done it. You live 60, 80 years, whatever, this little blink of an eye, and now you're going to be punished for all eternity for the way you acted for a very blink of an eye.
Mhm.
That doesn't make sense. Now, it could be you keep doing it, and then it's like, okay, enough. You
Yeah.
continue this behavior, and you keep screwing up, and you don't. Then you go. That's it. You're done.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be, to me, that would be a waste. It would be a waste of a soul just to be given everlasting life and then tested for several decades, and then that's it. You're done, and then you spend all eternity suffering for it, for what you did for several decades. Now, there are some people that can cause a massive amount of suffering in a short period of time, and I think that's a different story. I do, but I think God is just, and I think He's going to deal out the punishment the way it's supposed to be. The punishment fits the crime. This isn't these corrupt systems of man. People are looking at everything through the lens of the human eye. They're judging and doing things through a human lens. And these people, too, they put these human characteristics on God that He does not
Mhm.
have. He is so far above that is not. The human part of it came through Christ.
Yeah.
That's why He sent Christ, so He could be the Word made flesh. That's the thing people don't understand, and they get caught up in all this, the Antichrist. The Antichrist is here. He's been here for a long time. And it's not just one. There's a bunch. There's a whole group of them.
Yeah.
That
The
are
spirit of the Antichrist. And it said in the Bible that it was already in the world, even at that time, the spirit of the Antichrist.
And that's what it is. And it infects everybody. So everybody's all worried about that. Then they're not looking for Jesus. Jesus is going to come back like that, like a thief in the night. If it was that simple, you were just like, oh, well, the Antichrist is here now. So we got a little bit of time until Jesus comes. No, dude. That's why it says, let he who hath understanding. It tells you, reckon the number of the beast, the human number. It's a human number. These people are humans, but they're enacting the will of the Shaitan, of Satan. And you sit there and you dwell on this instead of going, okay, Jesus is going to come back at any time, because we're already dealing with all of that. And you look at what these people like Herb Baumeister did, just annihilating people and throwing them on his property and lighting them on fire. It's just so heinous. You can't even fathom the corruption and the ruination of a person's soul. And a friend of mine not too long ago, he said, I can't wait until judgment and I get to see all these people go and do this and suffer and get what they deserve. And I told him, I said, you can't do that.
No.
He said, what do you mean? I said, that's not right, because you cannot rejoice even in the downfall of your enemies. You can't rejoice in the destruction of people's souls. It's a sad thing. Even those who wronged you. Go ahead.
That specifically is actually addressed in one of the books that were removed somewhere in the book of Amos.
Oh, Amos.
Yeah. It says specifically not to long for the day of the coming of the Lord. For what does it benefit you to rejoice in the judgment of others? Something along those lines. But it was a warning, saying that this is not. You are going to be subjected to the same, like you're going to be held accountable too. So don't be too hasty in wanting and thinking that you're just going to be sitting there watching other people suffer their judgment for the things they've done. It's got nothing to do with you. You're going to be held accountable too. And of course, like people don't really know that because Amos is not, canon.
Yeah, well, Amos was taken out because of Amos's indictment of Israel.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Daniel was not canonized in the Tanakh because they prophesied Jesus. So you see these people, and then they're like, oh, they're okay, dude. We can talk about that tomorrow. But oh, Matt, you got me. He says, Josh, you're not fooling anyone. That's the intro to the Iron Maiden song, "Number of the Beast." What a phony. Yes, Matt, you got Matt's a paratrooper. He's messing around. And yeah, you got me, man.
I was going to ask you. I'm like, are they being serious?
No,
I figured not.
See, that's the thing. The paratroopers, they have their own little culture there.
Right.
You have certain people who are messing around all the time. Just be careful saying stuff like that, Matt, because people will be like, "Oh, he's calling him out," and they think that we're fighting or something. No, Matt's a good dude. He's been on the show too. There's a lot of people I've told a lot of these people's encounters. I've told them.
Yeah.
Not always saying their names, but I'm not going to get into who said what. But and the thing is, when you stop and you look at this case, like I said, it always fascinated me. And the part about the guy running into the room, because he physically broke in.
Yeah, and the door splintered.
He destroyed
framing
it
on the door. Yeah.
And then when he makes eye contact with Joe,
it seems like it's in real time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not just like it's residual to me. And I know blood and emotions can saturate the environment and make something haunting. But when you have something like that and somebody comes in there and they're just like, boom, boom, boom. The door flies open and there's a guy soaking wet and just, freaking out. Dude, is his consciousness still being tortured? Is he suffering?
Yeah. And I don't think time works the same way at all on the other side. In fact, I don't think time exists there. I think time is a construct in our consciousness in this reality. And it's necessary because without that, we wouldn't have a sense of progression and urgency and evolution of our souls. But I've listened, I know you have too, but I've listened to and read hundreds of near-death experiences. And one of the most common denominators is they say, as soon as you exit your body, all of your senses you're still you still have your same personality, even your sense of humor, but all of your senses are heightened to an unbelievable degree, and you realize you've stepped more into the real reality, and that this is actually more like the dream world, and that on that side, time simply doesn't exist. And they say it's impossible to describe how it works, and that you can be in multiple places at once, your consciousness, but that time just doesn't work the same. So maybe it's even just sort of an aspect of his consciousness that's re-looping, and it's not that he's necessarily stuck in time, because if time doesn't exist on that side, I just think our fleshly human brains literally don't have the bandwidth and capacity to even grasp some of these like greater holy concepts. And the Bible, when people take it so literally, like down to the T, and they're very boxed in with the way they're thinking about it. It's like you have to understand a lot of the ways these things were being described. They were trying to describe the indescribable in human terms. And so much of it, there's layered meaning and there's interpretation and there's, even Jesus spoke in parables and explained that people wouldn't understand. A lot of people wouldn't understand. And so I just think I love thinking about all of these things and trying my hardest to understand and grapple with these concepts. But I accept the fact that we're never going to fully understand all these mysteries until we do exit our bodies and are on the other side, and kind of have that great Google in the sky that people who have near-death experiences describe, where they will, before they can even finish formulating a question in their consciousness, they'll have the answer to these great mysteries that we've all wondered about.
Yeah. I don't think we learn all the great mysteries as soon as we die.
No, I'm not saying as soon as we, I'm not saying
I get it.
I'm just saying
I don't believe that, because some people do believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of experiences where they say they'll ask these big questions. Usually they're not allowed to remember the answers when they come back into their body, but they have the memory of asking and receiving the information on that side. But a lot of the information they get too is ineffable. They can't describe it in human terms. And so I just accept that there are certain things we're not going to understand on this side of the veil.
One of the things, and we got to run here, but one of the things that always fascinated me was animals.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of animals. We all do. And I say we have them. We share our lives with them. It's more appropriate. But I've always felt like they are here to teach us unconditional love, first of all. And that sounds hokey, but it's true. I believe that. And I think that they enrich our lives in a way that people can't, because like Anthony, for example, we can sit here and we can have this intellectual conversation with Anna here or whoever, but the animals are not capable of speech. They're not capable of, so you have to learn to connect with them on a feeling level And you got to realize they are at your mercy. They are little angels, really. They are. They make poop and they pee, and you got to clean it up. Oh well, that's part of it. It's life. But their little bodies, you're the steward of this planet. You're the steward of this whole thing here. You know, you're responsible. I've never understood how people can hurt something like that. By the same token, there are people who are, and I use the word retardation, you know, and I'm joking about these morons, but I'm talking about people that are fully functioning. But there are people like my friend's brother. Yeah, and I shouldn't say my friend's brother because he was my friend too, but Gordon, he was my friend Justin's brother. Justin was my age, and Gordon was a couple years older than us. But Gordon was, and of course you're not supposed to use the word, so he's mentally challenged, because you can't say the R word, or whatever. But he was really special guy. He passed away several years ago, but Justin would get aggravated with him at times, but he loved his brother, but he would want to go with us, and he couldn't ride a bike, so he'd run behind us. And the other kids would get all aggravated, and I'm happy to actually say that I would slow down and wait for him. I'd wait for him. And when he helped us build a tree, he was stronger than all of us, you know, but he had, for his whole life, he had the mind of like a 10-year-old. Like he was never beyond that. He was just kind of like, and he would play with toys. We were in our 20s, and he was playing with Ninja Turtles and things like that. And people were like, "Oh, your brother's a freaking retard." And then Justin would get so mad, dude. And he disavowed girlfriends, friends, all kinds of people. He didn't talk to them because of that. But years ago, his mother told him, and I'm happy to say there was 3 of us. And she says, "I like David, him, and Ronnie. She didn't like anybody else." So to certain people we go hang out with, he couldn't hang out with us because she knew what kind of people they were. She knew. And not that they were guys were bad, but they were rough around the edges. And she saw that I was nice to him. But then when I was in high school, I was a tutor. Like I became a tutor. And so it kind of sucked, but I got extra credit for it. And my mom pushed me to do it. You know, my mom and dad were both brilliant people, math whizzes, and just incredibly, I don't know, how would you describe my parents? Geniuses?
Yeah. Just, I don't know, like
high functioning.
Really, like left brain, hyper smart, you know?
Yeah.
Big time.
Not always emotionally equipped. You know?
No, not really. Like, okay. Not the most emotionally intelligent, but, you know, because that's a type of intelligence, but like intelligent in every other way, you know?
Yeah. And they pushed me. So when I was in the Abeka school, I was doing pre-algebra in 5th grade and doing term papers. And my dad's like, "How can you not understand this? Because you're a math whiz."
Yeah.
And I'm 9. You know, it's pretty simple. I'm like 9 years old, dude. I'm not supposed to be doing this crap. In public school, you don't learn it. And my dad's like, "Well, you're not going to public school. That's why you went to this school for X-Men," or whatever, you know. But it was only for a couple of years, 2.5 years, whatever. And I hated it going in, but then I was sad to leave. Because that place, they rewarded you for being smart. We had this German lady that was long story short, we had these little flags. We had the Christian flag. I don't know if you've ever seen that. The Texas flag and the American flag. And each one was for something else, something different. And I followed the rules and I excelled. In my second year there, I just took off because I got held back. So I had to repeat 5th grade because I was screwing up with the curriculum. I didn't understand this. I was like, "Dude, I don't understand any of this." I came in halfway through the year and so they told me, they're like, "Don't worry about it. You can make up that year by being like next year, you can just make it up." And then they give you these workbooks to take home. So they were like, "If you don't do good, you know, whatever, you'll catch up." So when I left there, I was already qualified to be a freshman. And I was technically I was 6th grade going to 7th. But I was able to go in I could be a freshman because of what I had done. And so it was very difficult. My parents didn't make it any easier, but like I was tutoring kids with special needs and normal kids. And now this is most important. I got to say this. And when I was in this high school that I was going to in Austin, I met a lot of good people. I met a lot of cool people. But most of the people I was really good friends with were the people in the advanced placement because they were foreigners. And then when I went to college, it was the same thing. I had this group of kids that I was friends with, and only one of them was not this guy Jonah. He was the only one that was not a foreigner. And I saw kids in a sophomore English, in college, not able to read on a freshman in high school level. It was pathetic. It was crazy. So stop and think about that. People look at animals as they're stupid, they're dumb, they're less, whatever, because they don't have the same capacity that we do. But how you treat the least of everybody is how you're going to be treated. And when Jesus asks you that at the end, this isn't about your good works or patting yourself on the freaking back, but you have to be patient with people that aren't on the same mental capacity. So you have to learn. I've said this before, how to teach. That's something you have to do. Because if you don't learn how to teach, then you can't do anything. And I got this permanent resting bee face here because I'm always perplexed and angry with people. I see people doing the wackiest
I've always got the
thing.
11 lines.
Oh, dude, it is, at the grocery store. And you can tell this person is not mentally disabled. They're just mentally lazy. Or they're so warped.
There's
by
a lot of
demonic infestation,
willful ignorance.
Yeah. But you don't see people that are mentally, disabled. You don't see a lot of them being possessed by demons.
No, they're in a much more innocent state. For me, I think the story of the fall of man, of Eve taking the apple and their fall from grace, so to speak, I think it has a lot to do with the advent of rational thought in human beings, higher rational thought. And that was the advent of the ability to differentiate literally between good and evil and to actually make a willful decision using your free will on what your actions are going to be. Whereas animals live much like little children, just completely in the moment. They're totally in the moment. They're more in a state of love and simple instinct, and they don't have that same capacity for rational analyzation. And so on one hand, it's one of our greatest gifts, and we have all these great achievements as humanity, but on the other hand, it's our greatest curse because it's what brought evil into the world.
We recorded several episodes because we used to have a guest on every Friday until this month with the summer ween thing, but we had Taki Yasha. And I don't know if she's in the chat. I haven't seen her comment today, but she made a comment on the show that it was a series of pre-records that we did with her. My eyes are burning, folks. I'm sorry.
It's me.
I get on with you, and we have eye burn on her.
I know, always by the end of the show.
Me and Nelly both have just been like, our eyes are burning. I'm like, we're being sympathetic with Anna there.
For other people that haven't watched the other show, I'm always like, at some point in the show, I'm always putting in eye drops.
Well, because you're up there where all the fires are. Right?
Yeah, there's tons of smoke. I was driving around today and it was like you couldn't see the horizon because there was so much smoke.
Karen says, I want to make a rescue. We do too. We're trying to figure out how to do it at the ranch. I don't know.
Well, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, we want to put video cameras up or whatever just to show people, the ranch and the animals and stuff. But anyways, what was I saying? I can't remember what I was going to say.
People that abuse animals are the lowest of the low.
Oh, they are. Absolutely. And I can't remember what the heck I was going to say. Dang it. Can't even remember now. Well.
It was before the eye burn. The eye burn burned it out of your brain.
Yeah, it messed me up there because it's just burning my eyes.
We were talking about the advent of rational thought in humans, and the animals don't have that capacity. And how innocent people are.
There we go. Okay. So Takayasha made a comment. I don't want to steal her thunder, but she goes, we live in this simulation, this matrix, right? And that's what she believes. But she said that the animals don't really participate in it. And she said that, and I thought about that, and I was like, she's right. They don't actually participate in this. They'll see these entities lurking around.
Oh, yeah.
They'll see things that you don't, and they're watching them. My dogs and cats, and even our ferrets, all of our animals, they'll, it's crazy how much they can observe, because they're not being buffaloed by this whole, I don't know. It's just to me, that makes sense. you know. And so when you say, "Hey, I got to go check on my dogs," well, that doesn't bother me because we got Martis up here in the studio. He has to be around us.
Yeah.
Marmar's always around. And then when I'm downstairs talking to witnesses, I'll be like, "Oh, and I'll hold on. Are you okay?" Oh no, my cat, he's humongous. Panzer jumps on me, and he gets up on my. He has to just get like, I have to see you in your eyes. I gotta, and he's like right in my face. I'm like, dude. So many times when
Animals
I
are
was
the best.
downstairs at my house, I was doing the show, and he would just jump up there and get right in front of the camera. I don't want to be. I can't yell at him or whatever. I can't, you know.
Yeah, I got scars for days from them. Like they have to jump on me and have to
Always.
be there, like covered in freaking scars from our cats.
Man,
But I
miss
never
my
get mad at
kitty
him
so
for it.
much.
Um,
I did. Well, oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna add real quick. Like just yesterday, whenever we were doing the stream, like while I was off camera, Martis jumped on me and just, man, like he dug his back claws into me to stay on, and it like I wanted to like yell, but I didn't want to interrupt the show.
I saw that.
I just had to bite my tongue, man.
laughed.
It hurt.
If you go back and look, there's a part where I actually laugh.
Yeah.
It was. It was
Oh, is
only
that when you were like, "Are you okay?"
I think it was it the members, or was it during random?
I think it was the members.
Because we did
I don't
members,
remember.
we did random, and Anthony was like,
Oh, okay.
he does this.
Yeah.
I just remember you getting distracted at one point and being like, "Dude, are you okay?"
Yeah, I think it was, because he got hurt, and then because Martis is just sitting there with his little head. He is oblivious, dude.
Cats
But
are
I
great.
can't, when I was younger, I did not appreciate animals the same. I was always an animal lover. Animals always loved me, but I don't feel like I appreciated what they brought, and I know now, and I have for decades, but they are here to teach us, My
Mhm.
parents didn't have the same sympathy for animals as I did, and I really hated that. My dad has learned it. I don't think my mother ever did, unfortunately. But they weren't cruel. They weren't mean to them. They just didn't feel the same way. Like, it's a dog, it's a cat, it's your fish. It's whatever. It's your lizard.
What you're describing with them, and the only reason I would bring this up is just because I was very close to somebody that was exactly like what you're describing, and like super genius level, most intelligent person I've ever met in my life, but kind of had the same thing, like sort of a detachment with animals, not cruel by any means. They loved animals, but just a different attitude toward them. And sort of that frustration with trying to explain really advanced concepts to people that couldn't grasp at their level. But it kind of sounds like high functioning Asperger's, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't have Asperger's. I got a cousin that has it, and I helped take care of him, when he was younger. And now he doesn't. He has it, but they didn't. They were they were assholes.
Yeah, that's rough.
The boomers, man. They were just, And my dad, he's very honest. He's like, "Yeah, I was not correct in the way that I did things. I didn't understand you." And he admits he made some mistakes that, when I told him, "Hey, man, gold is going to do this," and he just fluffed me off, and now he's kicking himself.
I bet.
But he finally bought into silver, and now he's already up like $1,000. I told him, I said, "I told you,
Yeah.
But
Gold's
I
been
just
going
felt
up
like
lately.
they never wanted to just take me seriously. And so I just, just exited out of their life for years. Just people ask me about my parents, I'd be like, "They're there. I just don't, I had no use for it, Not that I love them. It's not that. I just had no use for them because they did nothing for me. I mean, absolutely nothing. I mean, it was like, I'm telling you the truth. There was nothing there. So when somebody's not really, they make no effort to be a part of your life, and they don't do anything for you, then, and you don't, everything you do for them is just taken for granted. Eventually they act like they don't care about you. You have to stop and think, maybe they're not acting. Maybe they really don't care about you, and that's it. You have to move on. I see so many people waste their time on people who don't amount to a hill of shit. They're not worth anything. And you see the best people wasting their time on these people. What does Jesus say? He says, dust yourself off and move on. If somebody doesn't want to talk to you, they don't want to be in your life, they don't want anything, unless that person is holding your money hostage, you have no reason to talk to them. There's nothing. Just move on.
I think a lot of it is because social acceptance is such a survival mechanism in most human beings. We have Because back in the day, if you were exiled from the group, it meant that you might not survive. You know, we didn't have modern society as we do now with our safety measures and abundance. And so if you were kicked out of your tribe and you were on your own, you know, you were kind of screwed. And so we have this extreme subconscious fear of social rejection. And sometimes it's the people that treat you the worst, where you find yourself strangely chasing after their approval. You know, it's this weird psychological mechanism. And even very intelligent, good people, you know, you fall into that trap. But I think the older and wiser you get, you realize that it's definitely in your best interest to peacefully detach. You know, you want to forgive them and wish them the best, but there's certain people that you don't need to have continue draining your energy in life.
And one of the lessons I had to learn from somebody years ago, she told me, she's like, she says, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore. When you break up, and she's like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And maybe one day I will, and then you won't want to talk to me. Nothing could be more truer. I thought, well, that's just you being a bitch, And I realized, no. And now I'm just years later, I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I would never want to talk to her,
Yeah.
So it turns out that it's absolutely true, but you begrudgingly, and people do these snide things because they want to say something so that they're right. And it's like, good, you're right. You're right. And I think of you now, I think you're a piece of shit, This person was just completely not a good person, and I felt it, and that's why I was probably constantly throwing barbs back, because I just felt that this person was not a complete sociopath, but they were not an honest person. And I think when you're young, like me, I had a lot of feelings, and I cared a lot, and I cared about everybody, and I tried to.
Yeah.
But the coin can flip, and then you're angry at them because they're not reciprocating whatever it is you've done for them. You got to realize
Yeah.
you don't do things to get anything out of it, because most people aren't going to give you anything out of it. And we're all just one little insult or whatever away from crumbling. And then eventually you become strong and you figure it out, especially when you're thrown to the wolves early. Then you don't need anybody's freaking approval. Like, I don't need a person's approval for shit. I don't.
Yeah.
You could put me on an island by myself for 10 years. I never seen another human being. I'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't care. I would just be like, because it's me and God. It's just finally some peace and quiet. But by the same token, you can put me in the middle of a busy stadium and I'm perfectly fine talking to every person there.
Yeah. Same.
It's hard to get to that point, though. It is very difficult. And thank you, Jackie Burns, for that donation and that great compliment. She says, love this channel and beautiful people.
Oh, thank you, Jackie.
Well, she's really talking about me.
Well, I know you're the beautiful one.
I won't be rude
obviously.
or anything. Oh, no.
I know. You've got that lingerie on underneath that you got at Costco.
Exactly. The Costco lingerie over there. I was with Nellie and I was like, Nellie, does this shirt make me look gay? She's like, no. I was like, you do the little, flip it over. What is it, Anthony? How you do it? What is this? Were you take it in and out? Oh, how about now?
Yeah, you took the bottom into the top of it.
Yeah. You have to go to Costco to get that kind of look. Now, I get the Sam's Under Armour socks though. Those I like. I wear
I need
those.
some new socks.
Yeah, I got to get some socks. And then we had somebody say, who said this? They said their mother was that way. That's a shame, dude.
Somebody said Wolf is beautiful and Anna is only mid, in my opinion. Thank you.
Andres. These are paratroopers, though. They're going to give me the
I know.
credit. They're playing with you.
I know. What you were talking about too with when you stop caring about people's approval, it's funny because you said like, oh, a lot of people follow you online or whatever. Back in the day, I just had my tiny little group of people on Facebook, like 300 some friends or whatever, friends and family. And it was when I thought to myself, I don't care what people think anymore. And I just started saying exactly what I think about everything and being really honest and transparent and authentic. Not like I was faking before, but I was hesitant to post certain things.
No, you were nice. I kept pushing you.
Yeah.
I kept telling you, stop with, because these people are just running over you and you're being nice and taking advantage of it.
Yeah, well, but when I started like posting content that was just like, I don't give a crap what people are going to think about the fact that I believe this, suddenly it was like blew up, not that I have like a crazy amount of followers or anything, but it got bigger and got
on Facebook for sure.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know, 10,000 or something. It's not like huge. It's not like
that's not crazy.
But
that's
Yeah, but a lot of but then you get the weirdos. I get a lot of, because all my posts are public, and you get the weirdos on there throwing this hate, and people will be like, "Are you okay?" God, like they'll privately message me, "I
Yeah.
saw what that person said to you. That was horrible." And I'm just like, "Yeah, of course I'm okay. I don't give a crap." Like I genuinely, it just genuinely doesn't affect me. I'm kind of impervious to it. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to it at this point, but I don't take it personally because I just think, oh, that's just a reflection of them. That has no reflection on me, and they have no power over my sense of confidence and who I know myself to be. So it just really doesn't matter what they have to say. If anything, I actually find it pretty entertaining.
And it's funny, Law and me you were on that person's deal earlier today. I saw Law on there. I saw my brother on there. I had somebody just completely unhinged person, just lying basically. And I just said, dude, I don't give a crap what you think. I don't care what you say. You're
Yeah.
inconsequential in my life. And I didn't go tell these people, oh, do you know that I have 3 channels and that I'm bunches of people listen to me on a bunch of platforms? I don't give a shit what
Right.
these people think or what they do. I don't. These people here I care about because of the people that are,
Yeah, the
my
people
base.
that, yeah. Like if
I
you
don't
said
care what
something
those people.
horrible to me and you meant it, that would probably hurt me. That would
Yeah,
be
well, I
different
mean,
because I actually care about your opinion.
and it should be that way. You have people
Yeah.
that that you care about, and then I got to say this. This isn't bragging, but I have a lot of people that I actually can trust. Most people don't have that. They don't. They have like one hand people. That is a very true thing. My dad said that, but I was like, I disagree. I have a lot of people I can trust. I can trust people, certain people. And over the years, I've cultivated a lot of relationships with people. But people have to realize you have to go out on a limb sometimes with people and do something for them. If they
Mhm.
don't reciprocate, don't immediately go axe, whatever, because you don't know what that person's going through. But if it's all the time, one way street, 3 or 4 times, and they don't, then you cut them off. Say, okay, yeah, good. I'm going to wait till you call me with something that is not for
Yeah.
your needs.
Energy
And
vampires.
exactly. Then you have to cut them loose but you can't automatically just think everybody's out to get you. That's a fatal flaw in a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I know some people don't have that room for error. They're like, look, I can't have somebody that's going to do that. And there are some people that are like, once I'm done with a person, I'm done with them. That is the dumbest way to be. And one of these people, most recently in my life, this person fancies themselves a business person. And I'm like, if you're in business, you can't do that. You can't just be like, oh, I'm done with the person, I'm done with them. You will be the most unsuccessful businessman in the history of the world. It's going to happen. You will die old, alone, and broke, and unfulfilled and miserable because that's what you are. You're just So if you're in business, you have to be able to see the forest for the trees. I've been in a lot of businesses and I've had a lot of business interactions and dealings, and you have to deal with people that maybe you have to find common ground with them. You
Yeah.
just do. And if they screw up something, unless they're just robbing you for thousands and thousands of dollars, that's different. But if they make a mistake, you have to just be like, well, they made a mistake. You can't just write somebody off and never speak to them again, because so many people that do that, I always think 2 things. First, psychologically immature. They're a very immature person. Secondly, don't tell me you're a Christian. Don't say that, because you are absolutely lying, and that is affront to Christ, because Christ tells us the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You forgive. These are people
Mhm.
who can't forgive, because
Yeah.
if you're willing to just write somebody off and never speak to them again, especially if they're your own flesh and blood, like your parents or your children or whatever, you at some point will have to come to this reckoning with them. But you also there's a sociopathy that could be there with that person. I've
Very
seen
true.
people, they always back the wrong horse. They look at the pretty shiny thing and they go for that, and they don't go for the substance in the person. And one of the things that happens, folks, and this is not for me to sit here and proselytize, but I'm trying to tell you, and I don't mean to pontificate or proselytize, but I see people with their siblings. They will choose the POS sibling. The parents will do the same thing. They'll back the child with the whatever they think. And it's like, that person doesn't care about you or anybody. They're
Mhm.
able to talk and make it sound good. That's what they do. And then you are stuck holding the bag, and their enemies become your enemies, and all of the crap that they're into becomes your problem.
Yeah.
And I've had so many friends that have had piece of garbage siblings, and I just have to step away from them because of those people in their lives. And you'll ask them for something. Oh, I'm helping my brother. That brother would not pee on you if your gums were on fire. They wouldn't piss on your teeth.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that's exactly who these, and they always get people to help them and do things for them. They always get that. And you see
Users.
these people, they are just absolute garbage people. And I will look at them, and once you get to know them, Anthony's dealt with this before. I told him he had a friend when he was younger. I said, that guy, get away from him. Don't talk, just get away from him. That guy was all for himself. There was nothing good about that guy. And then some things ended up happening with that kid and his brother. And I told Anthony years ago, I was like, you're nice. You're trying to be a friend, but that guy will never reciprocate and be your friend. He's a taker.
Yeah.
He's a user. I got a cousin like that. She's just a taker and a user. She has she's a sociopath. Absolutely, positively has no feelings for you at all. And then comes around when they need something. And eventually I just sent her a message and said, hey, I don't usually just write people off, but there's nothing ever going to be anything from this person. So I told her, I said, lose my number, please. And if you see me at Thanksgiving, Christmas, don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
You got other people in your web of intrigue you can run to and lie and cajole. No, I'm not one of them.
It's weird that you're bringing this up because I was at my aunt's house just earlier today and we were having an entire conversation about this exact subject. And there was somebody that used to take care of my grandfather on my dad's side. He passed away when I was only like 14. So this was a long, long, long time ago. But when he was alive, at one point they hired a caretaker for him, and she was sort of a distant member of the family, but straight up sociopath. And they didn't warn my aunt about her behavior patterns when they suggested that she take care of him and be his living caretaker. She was writing checks out of his accounts. She was trying to poison him. She was literally trying to poison his food and kill him, like doing all this horrible stuff, taking out credit cards and other people's names, absolutely no remorse, no shame whatsoever. So and my aunt was telling me, like, I feel kind of guilty that I don't, because she's a member of the family, like I struggle with forgiving her, but I just don't want to be around her. And I feel guilty about that. I was like, why would you feel guilty about that? That's a normal human reaction to her behavior patterns. She has no guilt or remorse, so why should you feel guilty for just not wanting to physically interact with a person who does things like that? And that was far from all she did. Apparently she had screwed over tons of people in her life. And I said, you have to understand, psychopathy and sociopathy under the umbrella of antisocial personality disorder is way more prevalent than most people realize. Like, the statistics are a minimum of 1 in 100, but a lot of experts say it's more like up to 20 some people in every 100 that have antisocial personality disorder. And so sometimes people feel like they can't forgive until the other person feels remorse for their actions. And it's important to realize that in this life, some certain people that wrong you, they will never feel remorse for it, at least not in this lifetime. And so forgiveness is actually a gift to yourself. You don't forget what they did, and you're wise about it, and you don't tolerate it again. But forgiveness is almost more of a gift to yourself, to free yourself from that negative, resentful energy that it harbors, to not be able to let things go.
Yeah, and and I guess I should preface, not preface, but wrap it up to say that there are times when there are people you have to turn your back on, but it seems like people always end up doing it to the wrong people.
Yeah.
That was my point earlier, that there are people that will be absolutely not worth a crap, and they are just completely not good people. And people's radars are broken. Like, they don't have most people aren't a good judge of character. I've seen it, dude. I've seen people just sit there and make the worst decision and go and be around the worst people. And sometimes I'll say something, and most of the time I don't, because that person has to learn.
Yeah.
They're just going to be angry and resentful at you. And they're going to, at worst, they'll run and tell that person, and that person starts attacking you because because you see that they're a spider, and then they want to come after you because you've outed them. So they have to then they have to go on a smear campaign against you to convince everybody you're this bad person.
Yeah.
Because that is how they're going to protect their game. You know?
And protect their ego. It's a very sociopathic, narcissistic kind of trait, and that's their MO. Is they like to triangulate and they like to smear the character of the other party. Yeah, it's just some of the people that we have to deal with in life. I don't know why it's that way, but it's so important to try to focus on being able to let things go. And like I said, you don't forget what they did. But I think part of it too is that a lot of these people, humans by nature, we're attracted to confidence. You know, people that have an air of confidence. And some of these sociopathic and psychopathic people, and just shitty people in general, pardon my French, often are incredibly confident, and they project this sort of aura about them that's actually it's attractive to people for some reason. It's just like the trope where they say, you know, women date assholes, but it's true for men too. I know a lot of men that they always pick these really bitchy women, and then you just think to yourself, what is going on here? But I think a lot of it has to do with that. There's a weird psychological mechanism in us where when somebody has that much confidence, and it's almost like a pack leadership thing or something.
Well, and there's a
so
lot of look at YouTube, right?
Mhm.
You see all these people who they follow,
Yeah.
and I'm one of them. I mean, people follow me, but there
But you're
are
not one of those
but I'm not a
horrible-
sociopath. But some of these people are absolute frauds. Just what would the word be? Charlatan. Just absolute shitholes, you know. And there's all these people over there just fawning and believing, wow, they're such a great person. No, they are probably dumb as a brick too. They just know how to parrot things.
Yeah, look at the millions of people that follow people like Kenneth Copeland. How do you explain that? You know, once again, it's like this. I guess he's got a certain, not for people that have an ounce of discernment, but for people that don't, I guess he has a certain charisma or charm about him that they find appealing.
And
I just think he
Jetzul
was
from
obsessed.
yesterday, I'm sorry, hold on. He says, I'm good. Sorry, I stuck my nose in business yesterday. No, you were actually defending Richard. You're actually defending it. And then they said that they thought I would get upset about it. I don't, it's just part of a shtick. I mean, me and Richard go back and forth. Except he kind of hung me out to dry because I thought he was supposed to come at me a little more, but he didn't. He just sat there going, poor Richard. Then it makes me look like a freaking ass. Come on, Richard.
He just gave you the Ted Bundy stare.
So because you know we tease him or whatever, but that's it. But he likes to mess with people in the chat too, though. So you know he knows.
Yeah.
He says, "Appreciate you looking out." Wolf and I just trash talk nonstop. Hey, but the thing is, Richard, you're not trash talking me back. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to make jokes too, but you're not. You went after Tony and Anthony on different occasions. But they're not really going to mess with you. It's going to be me. So you got to mess with me, and it makes it work, right? But it doesn't matter. Jetzul was just trying to be nice. They were just being a friend, and I get that. I'm not mad at you, Jetzul. And the thing is, like I said, we need to wrap it up and conclude this. And I know we got off on this last 40 minutes of the show is just about this.
I know. I'm bummed because I have like so many cool stories I've never told before that
we'll get you. We'll do it. We'll get you back on. We'll do it.
Okay.
Don't worry. But here is what I got to say, and we'll have you come back, and maybe next Friday and maybe the Friday after. Who knows? We'll have to keep you coming back.
Sounds good. Yeah, I got a lot of crazy stories that'll surprise people.
Oh no, I've heard some of them.
Yeah, you haven't heard all of them, but you've heard.
No, I haven't heard all of them. And sorry we got off track here in the last 40 minutes to an hour.
It's a good talk, though. It's important stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm. I think too, because Anthony, we've known Anna for so long, and she's been a pillar of the conservative community for a long time. But you started getting attacked, and I'm not going to get into it. Well, you had your own little, kingdom, but once you started being more like Candace, Tucker, and Alex, you start coming after you.
Raise that flag.
Once you said, "Hey, I'm not liking what I'm seeing over here."
Oh yeah.
Then people were like, "Why are you not zombie no more?"
Yeah.
And then
you're like, "Hey, wait a minute."
It got pretty nasty in there.
One of these things is not like the other. And then all the Republican, conservative, neocon types were like, "Hey, you're not supposed to notice that. Don't notice that pattern."
Well, what did Charlie say? He said, "I have pattern recognition."
Mm-hmm.
As a human
Mhm.
being, you have pattern recognition. I mean, and I was watching something that a friend of mine had sent from him today. And it was like, yeah, he's right. He has that pattern recognition. My sin for me in all of this is that I didn't start a conservative talk channel sooner, and that I didn't take the opportunities to build this show like I should have. But now I'm going to. But now I'm being messed with by these and that's fine. You're going to raise that flag. You're going to get some shrapnel. It's going to happen. But you got to be careful, because these people are getting more and more powerful, and eventually they're going to make what you say not legal. That's what I believe they're going to do. And they're going to shut us all down, and who knows. But that's where your skill of being able to survive comes in handy, because the world is not just lived on the internet. It's lived in your day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have one more thing you could tell us before we go? Maybe this was not super long. Maybe you could squeeze it into 15 minutes, maybe.
Oh yeah, sure. Do you want me to squeeze? I mean, I don't know, because I've got the other stories that nobody's heard before, but I could squeeze in just an abbreviated version of the alien thing that happened if you want. Just
Nah, I
throw
don't
that
want
into
it
the end.
abbreviated anything. You got to be able to say what you got to say. We're not going to do that. We're going to come back.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
tomorrow night you and I will be on with Richard again and Anthony, and we'll be talking about, what are we talking about tomorrow, guys? Y'all know what we're talking about tomorrow?
You said you wanted to. I think you said you wanted to continue kind of on the AI thing and bring up some of that crazy lady's comments and how
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna be on real
NPC
random
mindset.
files.
Yeah.
But if there's other stuff you want to go into, let me know so I can kind of do a deep dive.
Well, I don't choose the topics for random balls. I've kind of let that be Anna's domain, and then I just kind of butt in. Whatever. No, I can talk about anything.
Well, so can I, obviously, but I appreciate that you trust my judgment enough to pick topics like that. So there's so many.
Fridays suck. We never do get a huge crowd in on Fridays. That's why we changed it. But one of the things too about Friday, just tonight, we just said person shares encounters. That was my unimaginative title. But usually when Anthony and Nelly and Tony come up with it, that's better than mine, I guess. I don't know. I'm not good at titles, but that probably didn't get a lot of people going, oh, that sounds wonderful, So maybe if we put Anna's face on there and like we put like Baumeister going like this, with a knife in his teeth, he's like, he's like,
with knives for teeth.
And Anna's like, she's shrieking from it. Yeah, kind of like the fainting. Yeah. Then maybe we'll get some people like, oh, this looks good. This guy looks like he's totally about to just tear this damsel in distress apart. What's going on with this? So,
just got to put some cleavage in there. It'll get a lot of views.
Yeah.
So Richard gives you a compliment. He says, Anthony and Tony are my boys. They're good sports and, of course, excellent mustaches. I was a little worried with some of the things you were saying to Tony, though. That was kind of rough. I was thinking, damn, dude, he's got something. If he comes down to visit, he might hurt Tony. He might try to hurt him. I have to watch Tony. What are you going to do to him?
Try to wrestle him.
Try to wrestle him, yeah.
Maddie said we got to start a fan club for Anthony's mustache. I agree. I concur on that. We should set up a whole Facebook page just dedicated to your mustache.
No men allowed. That's weird.
Richard liked Tony's mustache a lot, to the point of where it was creepy. I was kind of wondering about that. I was like, what's up with that? Why do you like his mustache so much?
Do you want to wrestle with him?
Do you want to wrestle? Is that what you're trying to do? You're trying to wrestle a guy?
Hey, I can make you squeal like a piggy, Tony. And
I got to say this. Look, here it is. August. I saw this last week at Costco, and then I was at Sam's, so I got some pumpkin spice.
Are you wearing Uggs under the table right now with your pumpkin spice?
Uggs? Hell no. I'm wearing Crocs. Not, but I don't wear the Crocs with the these are the toeless, the slides. I'm wearing the slides. You slide into them. They're comfortable. I don't like those weird clog hopper Croc thing. I don't wear those.
I don't know. If you've got the pumpkin spice thing going on, it would just kind of go with the aesthetic.
It was the first of the season, and I thought, here it is, hot as hell, and we're already ready for this. Nobody complains about pumpkin pie from Thanksgiving in August, but I promise you, in November, they'll have Christmas decorations and people play, fuck yeah. Cool. They get so mad, and I want to beat their ass because it's like, dude, one time of the year where we ask you to be nice, give a little bit of yourself, and They treat
Mhm.
people and they bitch and moan. These are the same people that'll festoon their bedchambers with Halloween decorations and just
Yeah.
run around in the streets with devil masks and all kinds of shit. You know,
20
and
foot
I'm
skeleton
not
in their
knocking
yard.
that. I mean, people want to run around and be Halloween. I'm not one of those that thinks Halloween is, you know, it's an abomination. You know, I'm not all into that. I mean, it's okay to have some fun and cut loose, whatever. But some of this shit gets downright satanic. It does. And then it's not only, you know, diablerie or whatever you want to call it, but then they hate Christmas. The neighborhood
Yeah.
we used to live in, I hate that fucking neighborhood with a passion. I don't even go through there. It's so just vile. They were messing with my neighbor Mario because he had too many Christmas lights. He told me, he was like, these are the same people that'll just close down the street for Halloween. And not
Wow.
one house but his, and that whole little cove where we were at, decorated for Christmas. But everybody was just going cuckoo bananas for Halloween. So
Yeah.
don't tell me, because I like both, right? But don't tell me that you're pissed off because Christmas or whatever when you're okay with Halloween popping up in July, which it already did.
Yeah.
Last month, Costco already had the Halloween decorations up. So can't have it both ways. You know, you either
Yeah.
do or you don't.
Start early. By the way, I did think of a really short story that would kind of end things on a sweet note because it was a very nice encounter. If you want me to tell
Go
that real
ahead.
quick. So, it wasn't the very first time I saw an apparition, but I think it was the second time. And I'm not sure exactly how old I was. I was a little girl, but I was old enough to be cognizant of things, you know. And I had a bunk bed in my room that my dad had actually made. It was really neat, a wood bunk bed, and it had like a desk area and stuff underneath. And I'm not sure what woke me up, but something woke me up and my room was dim. I think I had a nightlight or something. And I looked over the edge of my bunk bed and there were these two glowing figures there. And I didn't know who they were at the time. I found out later, but they were dressed in typical, almost kind of Victorian somewhat garb. Like she had the high waisted or high neck dress with kind of the somewhat puffy sleeves. And it literally was like and I wasn't asleep. This was not something where it was like one of those waking dreams or you're kind of half in and half out. I was wide awake. I was very aware of what was going on. This really happened. And I looked over and it was kind of like in a movie where they were somewhat translucent, almost sepia toned and emitting light and glowing. And he was really tall and she had her hair up in a bun, dark hair, and it was a really loving, nice feeling. I wasn't scared in the least, and I looked over at him and she they were just looking at me and then she turned to him and went like this and whispered something in his ear. I couldn't hear anything. But whatever she said, they both gave me this really warm smile and they waved at me. And I just sat there and I waved back and smiled. And then I wasn't scared at all. I'm not sure how much of it was just the loving energy in the room, so it wasn't threatening in the least. I knew that they were whatever they were good. And I think maybe at that age, you just don't process things the same way because you haven't been conditioned as an adult over time to be like, whoa, this is really weird. I should be freaked out right now. You're just experiencing everything in the moment as it happens and going, oh, okay, this is another new thing I'm experiencing on this planet. And anyway, yeah, it was very loving. And then I just waved and I just remember I just peacefully laid back down and went back to sleep. But I was wide awake. I know what I saw. And then it wasn't until a little while later that my mom happened to be showing me a photo of her grandparents. And that was exactly who was in my room. So I think they just
Wow.
came to visit and check on me. Yeah. And that wasn't the only time I saw things when I was little.
Jeez Louise. That's
So,
cool.
yeah, I thought it was nice. It's
Yeah.
more of a heartwarming story to end things on, you know.
Yeah. Gertie says that she didn't get notifications. Gertie, that happens a lot. They have shadow banned us. I'm almost positive. And supposedly there's no escape once they do it. You're just relegated to whatever. They slowed our growth to a crawl.
That's when you know you're over the target.
It is what it is. People have asked me, when are you going to get to 100,000? Never. They're not going to allow it. I mean, I've been stuck at 47 for months. I mean, they're not, I mean, you know, they just stop you. They just slow you down and people don't get notifications. They don't, you know. I do have something cool to tell everybody though. I got sent an email They sent me an email. Let me see if I can find it. It'll take just a second.
And Wolf, I told you about that dream I had, and it had that certain feeling I have when I have dreams that are telling me something. So I think the show is gonna take off a lot more.
We're ranked number 47 in the top 100 paranormal podcasts on this thing called Free Spot.
That's
And
awesome.
I looked at the people above us. I think we should have been a little higher, but there were some pretty heavy hitters up there. So I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool. But I see a few people up there that they chose a different route than I did because they didn't go through a war and they didn't get mass reported and messed with like we did. And they declined to stand and speak up. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, of course. So you did better. And they'll grow, and our channel probably won't. And that's fine. Because to me, what's more important is the information. And it has to be. And I'm not knocking those people. I'm just saying they obviously leapfrogged us because they did not have people attacking them 24/7. And they refused to stand to be counted and say, because they knew that it would hurt them. So they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And they just let it go. And the people that were doing that, they were attacking a lot of innocent people. And I felt like I could have just went away and ignored it after they were semi-subdued. But then who knows what would have happened. But I am positive that we did a good thing by rooting them out because they would have just continued to attack. And literally, they annihilated some people's channels. And that's what that's what their goal was. And they were trying to do it to us.
Yeah.
And yeah, it hurt us. And we probably won't ever see the big numbers, but I look at it like this, and this isn't no consolation prize. This is the truth. Quality over quantity, because here we're like a family. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love how we always like close out shows saying, love you, it's like, it's nice. I told Nellie before, like, I feel like you guys are definitely part of my soul family that I was meant to know in this life. And
Yeah.
it's so nice to have that kind of feeling of extended family, the family you choose. I mean, my actual family is absolutely wonderful. I definitely was blessed. I thankfully wasn't born into a rotten family, and they all, are very loving, very unique, special people. But it's just nice when you have that extended group of people that you cross paths with in life, and you just know you're meant to know them.
Yeah. Well, we will see you guys tomorrow night. The Real Random Files, 8 p.m., right? Tomorrow night,
Yeah.
Saturday.
Right.
That'll be the Real Random Files. We are getting tons of views on the replay. Now, what we do get on this is the replays. We get a ton of views on the replays. And I had a listener, she asked me that, and I told her, I said, the reason that is because people aren't getting their notifications, so they're not showing up for the lives. But then they see, oh, he did a show. So then they go back and they watch it, and they know that we did a show.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens. And then you get like thousands of views on there, but you're not getting a huge chat. And that's actually fine, because when you get too many people in the chat, we see 600-700 people in the chat. People are talking shit, acting weird, and the moderators are flipping around, So there are bright spots to that, silver lining, and plus I'd like to stay off the radar of certain entities, just to get, because they're just so vile. There's so many evil people doing so many evil things, dude. I mean, I don't ever want to be targeted and thought of, to where somebody says, hey, we need to get rid of this guy. But I'm not afraid. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, I don't want to say too much, but well, golly gee, they might come, fuck them. They're going to do what they're going to do. Excuse my language. Sorry about that. But I just get, I'm sick of it. I don't care anymore, And the older you get, the more you don't give a shit what people think. You don't care. You don't have time to sit here and worry about what these morons are doing or thinking, whatever.
And I think it's kind of a compulsion in a good way for all of us that we just feel this absolute need to talk about these things and get this information out and share it, discuss things with people. And I just strongly feel, that's part of kind of almost the Holy Spirit just pushing you, that you're supposed to be part of this unfolding of awareness in the world in whatever little way you can be.
Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow night, and we'll be talking. Bring those AI stories, Anna, and we'll talk about it. And we'll actually talk about your Facebook post and how it got everybody all ignited Because nobody did that on my Facebook post. If people come to my Facebook, they don't do that shit. You know?
I get
And
some
you got like 10,000
weirdos, man.
followers, but I made the mistake. I didn't realize that Facebook was like, this is going to be a platform and it's going to monetize and all that. I kicked like thousands of people out. I had over 5,000 people like that big old, you know. I started kicking people off, and Nellie's like, you can make it to where they just follow you. And I'm like, oh, well, I kicked a ton of people off, because then you get more people in there talking back and forth. And even if they're arguing back and forth, you get paid for that. And I was like, I didn't even think about it. I didn't give a shit. I just didn't want to deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah. My patience levels have definitely decreased over time. That's for sure.
It will happen, especially when you believe like we do. Okay, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow night. Real Random Files on Rumble with Anna Choate and Dick Richards. And Anthony, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye. Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Good night. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Good night.
Okay. Good night.